Chapter 942. I don't dare, I'm serious. I'm not joking with you. You need to be cautious and not greedy for big advantages, but you're a bastard if you don't take small advantages. What's more, I can see that the fifth Grand Elder seems to really think highly of you. Otherwise, he would never give you pointers from time to time when he returned. When you get any benefits, remember to share them with me, your master. Don't pretend in front of me. Do you think I don't know your tricks? Okay. Master, in front of others, I may pretend, but in front of you, I won't pretend. Your flattery skills have improved again. Not bad. Tian Wanxiang narrowed his eyes and said, no one knew his disciple better than his master. Li Mubai had been trained by him. He dared not say that he was resourceful, but he had learned how to choose when to advance and retreat, how to protect and escape, how to bully the weak and bully the strong, how to not be soft, how to be soft, and how to flatter others. This time in the Sky River sector, among the 112 genius disciples, he was the only one who could escape a calamity. This was the best proof. Master, you flatter me. Isn't it because you taught me well? Chen Hao said modestly. At this moment, he had the urge to immediately rush into the Star River tunnels Dao marked. Back then, the wisp of Li Mubai's primordial spirit had only given him a little bit of information. Now that he had seen it for himself, Chen Hao realized that perhaps this was the Milky Way tunnel he had left behind. It contained a familiar aura that shocked Chen Hao. Old God. During the process of nirvana, Old God had never appeared. Chen Hao did not care, but now his real body had stepped out, and the mind world had returned to the mind of his real body. His realm strength had also recovered to a level several times stronger than before the final battle, but Old God still did not appear. Chen Hao summoned him several times, but there was no response. Before entering the Star River tunnel, Chen Hao thought that Old God might have collapsed with his collapse and returned to nothingness. He needed to undergo nirvana again to recover his intelligence. But now the Star River tunnel clearly contained the aura of Old God, and it was extremely strong. Unfortunately, before the first Grand Elder and the others returned, no one was allowed to enter. Even at this moment, the sect master and the utmost exalted elders were having a private discussion. Furthermore, a true immortal level utmost exalted elder was assigned to guard the sect master. Tian Wanxiang and Chen Hao could only watch from afar. Tian Wanxiang was an elder, so he was fine. As for Chen Hao, who was disguised as Li Mubai, if he wasn't the one who discovered this matter, he wouldn't even have the qualifications to enter the Devil Abyss. 2 hours later, the sect leader of the Hunyuan sect and several supreme elders of the Tao Severing True Immortals finished their secret talks and appeared beside the Star River tunnel. Amidst the confusion of many elders, the sect leader of the Hunyuan sect announced that a supreme elder of the Tao Severing True Immortals would be left behind to guard the Tao marks of the Star River tunnel. 36 elders of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, who were at the peak of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, would seal off any cultivators who came to train around the crisscrossing passageways. No news was allowed to spread. If necessary, they would be killed if they could. If not, they would be temporarily controlled. The sect leader, the other supreme elders, and elders withdrew first, waiting for news from the first Grand Elder and the others. According to the sect leader's speculation, the Star River tunnel maintained by the Tao marks couldn't directly lead to other greater worlds. Otherwise, even if the Star River tunnel lost its ability to connect to the 9 heavens and 10 earths, its teleportation function would still be extremely powerful. There was no reason why the first Grand Elder and the others couldn't return after more than a year. As for the matter of the 5th, 6th, and 7th Grand Elders taking Tian Wanxiang and a wisp of Li Mubai's primordial spirit to search for the immortal fate, the sect leader just casually told them that the immortal fate's aura had disappeared without a trace and they had given up on searching. But he didn't mention a word about the discovery of the greater world. Chen Hao was naturally a little confused, and so was Tian Wanxiang. But both of them knew that since the sect leader didn't say anything, they had to keep it in their hearts. Mubai, although you didn't get the immortal fate this time, you did a good job. I'll give you 10 years of cultivation in the sect's cave abode. You're now at the peak of the late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland. If you can reach the fulfillment realm in 10 years, you'll have a place in the Hunyuan sect for the qualification battle of the sacred land of immortals in the chaotic universe. Work hard. Yes. Thank you very much, sect leader. I'll do my best to spread the name of the Hunyuan sect. Chern Hao didn't expect that the sect leader of the Hunyuan sect would reward him at this time, and the reward was so generous. Even if he hadn't gotten Li Mubai's memory, he could tell from the surprised and envious eyes of the surrounding elders that this was a reward that even they were envious of. However, when Chern Hao saw the fifth Grand Elder looking at him with a smile, he immediately returned a look of gratitude. Obviously, the fifth Grand Elder must have contributed to him being able to get such a generous reward. Very good. I didn't notice you before. The fifth Grand Elder admires and thinks highly of you, so you can't let him down. The qualification to cultivate in the cave abode is difficult even for the top geniuses in the sect. It's a rare opportunity, so you must seize it. Yes. Elders and Grand Elders, no one is to mention the matter of the demon abyss again. If your disciples ask about Li Mubai's reward, you can't talk about it either. It was only because he had obtained the recognition of the fifth Grand Elder and wanted to take him in as his successor. Whoever dares to talk about it will be punished by the sect. Any bit of information can leak out the matter of the Star Core Tunnel Dalmark. At that time, it won't be something that our Hunyuan sect can keep alone. You know the consequences. Rest assured, sect leader. Alright, you may disperse now. Remember to hide your tracks. Xiao Tian, Mubai, the two of you follow me. Qi. Come in. As the fifth Grand Elder spoke, he opened up the great world in his mind and allowed Chern Hao and Tian Wanxiang to enter. Thank you, fifth Grand Elder. Chern Hao said excitedly and gratefully. Even though Chern Hao was an impostor, it had to be said that the fifth Grand Elder and his master Tian Wanxiang treated Li Mubai quite well. Needless to say, the fifth Grand Elder definitely cherished him because of the talent he displayed. After all, when he returned, the fifth Grand Elder gave him pointers from time to time. And Chern Hao went with the flow. When he gave pointers, it was as if he was suddenly enlightened. His comprehension ability was astonishing. Of course, he still held back. He couldn't become too exaggerated all of a sudden. But even so, it really attracted the fifth Grand Elder's interest. And his master Tian Wanxiang, whether it was in Li Mubai's memory or now, had always taken care of him and valued him. Firstly, Li Mubai himself was very much to his liking. Secondly, Li Mubai was considered to be the top among his disciples. Idiot, you're still calling me fifth Grand Elder? Tian Wanxiang reprimanded. Dark Mountain continues to write. There will be more at night. Today there will be more. Can I cast a monthly vote? Chapter 943. Master, don't call me that too early. Whether or not you can become my disciple depends on your performance. Although I played a part in the reward given to you by the sect leader this time, in fact, you deserve it. You too don't have to hide the existence of the Sky River sector in your hearts. Xiao Tian, regarding your reward, the sect leader will specially summon you later. The fifth Grand Elder waved his hand to stop Chern Hao. Fifth Grand Elder, I'm not in a hurry. You should first tell Mubai the details of the secret grotto heaven. This is something I wanted to fight for when I was in the Daluo Golden Wonderland, but I didn't get it. It's a big regret in life. Not to mention you, even some of the Grand Elders didn't get it. Only the top 30 geniuses in the Daluo Golden Wonderland are qualified to enter our sect's secret grotto heaven. The secret grotto heaven was prepared by the Hunyuan sect to fight for the quota of the Immortal Sutra's holy land in the chaotic, boundless world. Mubai's current strength is absolutely not enough, but I found that Mubai's comprehension is very high. Xiao Tian, I don't want to criticize you, but I really wonder how you train your disciples. Cough cough. Is his comprehension really that high? Fifth Grand Elder, I really didn't find it that high. It's really not that I'm incompetent, but that you have a keen eye and a good way of teaching. You brat. Okay, let's get down to business. Mubai, listen to me carefully. Yes, Fifth Grand Elder. In the secret grotto heaven, it is engraved with the marks left by the masters of our Hunyuan sect. These masters are real geniuses that are 1 in 100 million. They are also the top geniuses who were qualified to enter the holy land of the Immortal Sutra when they were in the Daluo Golden Wonderland. The Tao marks they left behind are specifically targeted at comprehending the 3 great Immortal Sutras. This is also the reason why only 30 top Daluo Golden Wonderland geniuses are qualified to enter and comprehend the Tao marks every 10 years. Through Li Mubai's memories, Chen Hao knew very well that although the top management of the Hunyuan sect had directly appointed the 30 people who were qualified to enter the Hunyuan sect, all of them were the top geniuses of the Hunyuan sect's Daluo Golden Wonderland. People like Li Mubai, who was above average, didn't even dare to think about it. Out of the 30 people who could enter, 20 people would be selected as the Hunyuan sect to participate in the competition for the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra in the chaotic universe. There was no need to go through layers of selection, and they could directly enter the ranks of the final competition. The other 10 people, or other Daluo Golden Wonderland geniuses, who wanted to enter the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra in the chaotic universe, had to sign up themselves and go through layers of battles before they could enter the ranks of the final competition. The sacred land of the Immortal Sutra in the chaotic universe was also opened once every 10 years. Every time, only 1,000 practitioners in the entire chaotic universe's Daluo Golden Wonderland would be qualified to enter the sacred land. All the practitioners who were qualified to enter were the top geniuses of the chaotic universe. It was a major event that all the major sects attached great importance to, because it was related to the mystery of the 3 great Immortal Sutras. The 3 great Immortal Sutras were the supreme classics of the chaotic universe. Although they weren't divine skills, they could allow practitioners to comprehend the Tao and create their own unique skills. Everyone was different. How much one could comprehend, and what one could comprehend, depended on one's luck and comprehension. Some people improved by leaps and bounds after coming out, while others didn't gain anything. This was a very normal thing. So far, no one in the chaotic universe dared to say that they had completely comprehended the 3 great Immortal Sutras. This was also the reason why the sacred land of the chaotic universe's sacred land was very special. Only the practitioners of the Daluo Golden Wonderland could comprehend it. Those below this realm had no ability to enter at all. Those above this realm would also feel nothing. This was definitely not controlled by humans. The sacred land of the Immortal Sutra had existed since ancient times. Even the most powerful immortal king in the chaotic universe couldn't figure out the origin of the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra. In the secret grotto heaven, there are powerful space-time laws. 10 years in the outside world is 1,000 years in there. At the same time, there is a continuous supply of pure heaven and earth spiritual energy, allowing you to extract and cultivate. It's so strong. No wonder there are so few places, Chen Hao said in surprise. This is the reason why the strength of all the disciples who can enter will soar after coming out. I only have one request for you. When you enter, don't be confused by all kinds of Tao marks, and don't be greedy. Once you choose one, you must persevere until the end, unless you have no progress for more than 100 years. Your biggest weakness is not being greedy, but not being confident. If you encounter a little difficulty, you will retreat and change to something else. Disciple understands. I will definitely change this time, Chen Hao said in a deep voice. In addition, I want to remind you, don't be greedy for small gains. Putting your main energy on refining the thick heaven and earth spiritual energy is neglecting the essentials. The reason why there is a continuous supply of heaven and earth spiritual energy is to let you better comprehend the Tao marks of the ancestors and save time to recover your energy. Do you understand? Disciple will remember. Engrave it in your heart, you must not take advantage of these small gains. You must remember. Tian Wanxiang interrupted. He was always teaching small gains, and if he didn't take advantage of them, he would be a bastard. But this small gain really couldn't be taken advantage of. Yes, master, also, when choosing Tao marks, you can't be too greedy. Try to choose a Tao mark that you can withstand the pressure of, and it's not too painful. If it's too high, you will definitely not be able to comprehend it. If it's too low, the profound meaning of the Immortal Sutra will, naturally, be very little. This depends on you. The choice is very important. Yes, the most important thing is that although the sect master has given you this quota, your current strength and your previous performance are too mediocre. When you go back, without the list being announced, there will definitely be people who will find out from the mouths of those elders, and even instigate them. There will be many disciples who are not convinced by you, and challenges are inevitable. Since the sect master said that it's because I like you, then you can't embarrass me. Put down the things that Xiao Tian taught you first. In the sect, no one dares to destroy your body and soul. If there are challenges, then accept them. You can lose people, but you can't lose your spirit. This is also one of my tests for you. There is half a year between the announcement of the list and the opening of the Grotto Heaven Mystic Realm. I want to see your obvious improvement, so show me your ruthlessness. At the very least, you must make all the disciples who are above average submit to you. I will definitely not interfere in these matters. But after every battle, I can heal you and give you pointers. Cough cough. Fifth Grand Elder, if you had been so good to me back then, I might have been able to break through to the great circle of Hongmeng, and maybe even cut the Tao. Tian Wanxiang was surprised, envious, and happy as he spoke. Chen Hao was also full of gratitude and nodded vigorously. Two sharp rays of light flashed in his respectful eyes. Chapter 944. At this moment, even if Chen Hao was an impostor, he had to admire the fifth Grand Elder's high regard for him. With the full training of such a genuine immortal master, even Li Mubai, who was far inferior to him, could make great progress in his cultivation. Of course, if it was Li Mubai himself, he would not have been able to obtain the fifth Grand Elder's high regard and appreciation. Phew! The chaotic vast thousand world is indeed much more powerful than the ancient chaos vast thousand world. Back to the Hunyuan sect, which occupied an entire planet as its headquarters, Chen Hao could not help but exclaim. When he learned about the chaotic vast thousand world through Li Mubai's memory, Chen Hao was excited. Now that he was in the Hunyuan sect, he felt even more real. The Hunyuan sect was one of the top sects in the chaotic vast thousand world. However, it was only one of the top sects and was far from the top 10. However, Chen Hao was sure that the Shao family, which had been standing in the vast universe galaxy for hundreds of millions of years, was far less powerful than the Hunyuan sect. The number of genuine immortals and Grand Mist Supremacy Realm Masters was far less than the Shao family. As for whether the ancestor of the Shao family or the sect master of the Hunyuan sect was stronger, it was not something that Chen Hao could measure. Of course, the reason why he thought that the chaotic vast thousand world was stronger than the ancient chaos vast thousand world was because the top 10 galaxies were independent. Even if the total number of masters in the top 10 galaxies was comparable to the chaotic vast thousand world, they could not compete with the unified chaotic vast thousand world. The chaotic vast thousand world's Immortal Sutra Sanctuary was shared by the entire chaotic vast thousand world, which was the best proof. There was no doubt that this place was more suitable for the growth of cultivators. I am not qualified to enter the Star River Tunnel for the time being. The Hunyuan sect should not be able to find out the situation in a short time. Instead of disturbing my mind, it is better to put down the package and calm down to cultivate in the chaotic vast thousand world. The three immortal sutras are the highest classics in the chaotic vast thousand world. Since I am here, I will fight for it so that this trip is not in vain. Chern Hao thought to himself as he sat cross-legged in his palace. What Chern Hao wanted the most was undoubtedly to return to the ancient chaos great thousand domains as soon as possible. His woman, his brothers, his friends, his family, they were all waiting for him, missing him, and looking forward to his return. However, Chern Hao could not be sure that everyone was sure that he was not dead. Even if they were sure that he was not dead, who could be sure that he could return to the ancient chaos grand thousand worlds? Since ancient times, there were very few Tao-severing true immortals who could step out of the ancient chaos great thousand world, who could return. Not to mention, when his body and soul were destroyed and he shattered the void and left, he could at most be promoted to Daluo Jinxian. Back then, in that ethereal dream, his intuition had made him feel that he was about to experience a great calamity. He had also told everyone in advance that he might disappear for a period of time, but if he disappeared for too long, he was afraid that things would change, and the world would change. This was definitely not what Chern Hao wanted to see, and he could not give up. His feelings, his love, his heart, had already been left there. How could he not miss? But he was even more clear that if he wanted to return quickly, the only way was to improve himself faster. Otherwise, his beloved women whom he had not plucked would most likely be waiting for him to return even when they dissipated between heaven and earth. When he really saw the Tao mark of the Milky Way tunnel, Chern Hao faintly felt that the Tao mark of the Milky Way tunnel might be his opportunity to return to the ancient chaos great thousand world. Then he had to obtain the qualification when the Hunyuan sect was clear about the situation and prepared to enter the Milky Way tunnel. Father, mother, brother, sister, little Shui, little Wu, little Ting, little Lien, Yu, Huan, Lei, sister Mei, little Qing, my brothers and sisters. How could he not miss them? It was just that Chern Hao did not dare to think about it. But at this moment, in Chern Hao's mind, familiar figures appeared one after another. Every one of them floated clearly in his mind, including Bailey Ningbing and Hu Mainyang, who he had fought to the death with before. His past experiences with them all exploded in Chern Hao's mind at this moment, as if it was yesterday. Qi. After being immersed in his memories for a full 4 hours, Chern Hao finally stopped hesitating. In his mind, a sharp and resplendent sword light suddenly burst out. Seal. Endless worries were severed by the sword of wisdom and temporarily sealed in the depths of his soul. The great Tao was a solitary path. A cultivator must be able to endure loneliness and endure loneliness. The so-called great Tao was heartless. Perhaps this was the true origin. In the process of cultivation, the long river of fate was like an invisible giant hand, leaving the cultivator with no way to retreat, only to move forward. Being nostalgic for the past and constantly looking back meant the end of one's cultivation career. If one wanted to move forward, then he had to abandon everything. If he could not abandon it, then he had to temporarily suppress it. Disturb my mind / In order to become a true immortal, one had to / the Tao, let alone Chern Hao. 2 sparkling teardrops slid down from Chern Hao's pitch-black eyes, but his eyes had become clear and penetrating, and even blossomed with an extremely sharp light. His heart was free of worries. The 2 sparkling teardrops suddenly turned into 2 streams of light and sank into Chern Hao's glabella. The moment he became a peak late-stage expert in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm would be the moment the seal was unlocked. That was the most precious thing in his heart. Breaking the seal was already the limit. If it was destroyed, he would rather die than do it. To truly integrate into this world and improve myself, Li Mubai's stinky body definitely can't be kept, but this identity must be kept. What should I do? Chen Hao, whose heart was as clear as a mirror, began to think about the method of stealing the sky and swapping the sun with his true self. The cultivation method of the extreme Tao soul and body, the magical laws of the 3,000 Great Paths, the general outline of the Great Path and the profound meaning of the Buddhist scriptures, as well as the current situation, constantly flashed in Chen Hao's mind. This kind of stealing the sky and swapping the sun, and under the nose of Tian Wanxiang, his master, who knew him very well, only Chen Hao dared to think about it. If it were anyone else, it would be impossible. After another 2 hours, Chen Hao suddenly opened his eyes. It should work. Let's do it. In the Hunyuan sect, in the palace of the Daluo Jingxian area, a piece of news seemed to have grown wings. Under the promotion of people with intentions, in just a few hours, it spread among the young disciples of the Daluo Golden Wonderland. Li Mubai's name appeared so frequently that it exceeded the expectations of the fifth Supreme Elder. Humph, there are only 30 places in total. What qualifications does someone like Li Mubai have to get one? We are both at the peak late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, but I can beat him down with one hand. Of course, Senior Brother Meng, you are very likely to be one of the 30 places, but now there is one less. I don't know what potion Li Mubai gave to the fifth Supreme Elder, but he actually took a fancy to him. This is Li Mubai's ability. That guy is ordinary in other aspects, but when it comes to flattering, we can't even compare to him. Chapter 945. It's useless to talk about this. We have to think of a way. The top 20 golden immortals of the Hunyuan sect occupied 20 spots. They were almost certain to directly obtain the final spots of the immortals' scripture Holy Land. No one could compete with them, so they naturally didn't care who got the remaining 10 spots. Among these 10 spots, the strongest few could almost be determined. There are only 3 or 4 spots that can't be determined. So, only a few of us who have a chance but are not sure can make a move. We are at least equal in strength. Whoever goes first will be lucky. One of the cold-looking young men said in a deep voice. Yes, but how can we make a move? Is it useful? The sect leader has already promised. It's already a nail on the board. That's not necessarily true. Not to mention that the list hasn't been announced yet. Even if the list is announced, it may be adjusted before the secret realm opens. We have nothing to say if the experts stronger than us are qualified. But who is Li Mubai? Which one of us here is not stronger than him? I really don't know what the fifth Grand Elder sees in him. Why would the sect leader give him a spot? The fifth Grand Elder sees him as the main reason. There is another reason. Although my master didn't say it explicitly, he vaguely revealed that he seems to have done something to get this opportunity. What can he do? He's just a chickenhead in a second-rate school. He's not even qualified to enter a first-rate school. It's just an excuse for the sake of the fifth Grand Elder. Yes. Let alone you guys, even I won't accept this kind of person. I know Li Mubai. He's a coward who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Maybe if we teach him a lesson, he might give up voluntarily. Yes. It's okay if he doesn't give up. Beat him until he gives up voluntarily. However, the 6 of us shouldn't make a move before the list is announced. We don't want the sect leader and the fifth Grand Elder to be prejudiced against us. If that happens, others may take advantage of us. Let's do it. It's not a problem to teach him a lesson. Haha, that's right. I'm the weakest here. I'll go first. Good. That's a brother. Let's go now. Don't rush. Let's wait and see. Some people may be more anxious than us. Let's wait a few days. Anyway, there's still a month before the list is announced. Li Mubai. Just as Chen Hao was about to use the extreme spirit cultivation technique to steal the sky from the source of his soul, a cold voice suddenly came from outside the palace. His voice was loud and clear, and it was filled with Zhen Yuan. As long as one was not deaf, Anyone within the palace complex of Daluo Jinxian could hear it. "You're here so soon?" Chen Hao frowned slightly, and then he stood up and opened the door of the palace, and he seemed as if he didn't notice their overbearing appearances as he smiled and cupped his fists. "Isn't this Senior Brother Zhang, Senior Brother Li, Senior Brother Zhao, Senior Brother Wang, and Senior Brother Qing? What wind blew you all here? Come in, come in. Junior Brother will treat you all to a drink." "There's no need to drink. I heard that you've received the recognition of the 5th Grand Elder and obtained the qualifications to enter the secret realm?" The leader of the group, whom Chen Hao addressed as Senior Brother Zhang, stared at Chen Hao with a provocative and threatening gaze. This person's full name was Zhang Chong, and he was one of the disciples of the Hunyuan sect's Daluo Golden Wonderland, who had the potential to obtain the qualifications to enter the secret realm. His character was irritable, but his talent was extremely strong. Chi, at this time, streams of light came from all directions and approached Li Mubai's palace. Obviously, they had heard the cold shout and came to watch the show. Li Mubai was only above average among the disciples of the entire Hunyuan sect's Daluo Golden Wonderland. There were too many people who were unconvinced that he had obtained the qualifications to enter the secret realm. Even those who were not as strong as him were unconvinced. Not to mention those who were stronger than him. Senior Brother is really smart. Sure enough, there are people who are more anxious than us. Among the people who came, there was a group of people who were planning to teach Li Mubai a lesson. They secretly transmitted their voices and floated leisurely in the void not far away, ready to watch the show. "Yeah, Senior Brother Zhang, I didn't expect all of you to come and congratulate me so soon, he. Chen Hao unexpectedly revealed a proud and excited expression as he let out a silly laugh, causing the disciples who rushed over to be speechless for a while. Could it be that this guy's brain was smashed by a pie that fell from the sky? Even an idiot would know that the other party was not here to congratulate him, but to find trouble. Countless powerful divine senses that the people present could not sense also locked onto this place at this moment. The 5th Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang was no exception. However, after hearing Chen Hao's words, the two of them were stunned at first, but then they both nodded. This attitude was enough to prove that Li Mubai had made up his mind. His act of foolishness was completely to provoke the other party. Congratulations? Li Mubai, let me ask you, what qualifications do you have to enter? You can barely make it as an elite disciple of a second-rate school. Do you have any self-awareness? Zhang Chong said provocatively and disdainfully. What are you talking about? Look at yourself. Those who can enter the secret realm are all top geniuses of our Hunyuan sect. Which one of them is not the top elite of a first-rate school? Yes, if I were you, I would withdraw myself, so as not to make a fool of myself and waste resources. In the face of disdain and ridicule, Chen Hao pretended to be stupid and smiled indifferently. Finally, he frowned and ignored the people who supported him. He looked directly at Zhang Chong and said, "Senior Brother Zhang, am I really that bad? I'm at least above average in our Hunyuan sect's Daluo Golden Wonderland, right? You have the nerve to say above average? Bullshit. It can't be, right? We're brothers of the same sect. I respect you as a senior brother. Although you're stronger, you can't look down on others. If I'm bullshit, then wouldn't my junior brothers and sisters be?" Chen Hao's voice suddenly weakened until it was almost inaudible. Wouldn't they be bullshit? Voila, almost in an instant, many disciples who were weaker than Li Mubai looked at Zhang Chong in unison. Obviously, this guy's words without thinking, coupled with Chen Hao's deliberate guidance, made these disciples a little unhappy. Of course, no one was stupid. They wouldn't provoke a genius like Zhang Chong just because of this sentence. Ha 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 ha. The disciples who were stronger than Li Mubai, especially those who had a competitive relationship with Zhang Chong, burst out laughing unscrupulously. It's important to know one's own limit. Senior brother Zhang didn't say anything about others. Li Mubai, it seems that you've grown up. It's only been a few hundred years since we last met, and you've become a lot bolder after returning from the experience. Come, let alone senior brother Zhang, even I am not convinced. What makes you worthy of being chosen by the fifth Grand Elder? What makes you qualified to enter the secret realm? I challenge you now, do you dare to accept? Chapter 946. Are you doubting the vision of the fifth Supreme Elder? A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes, not to mention a few hundred years. I did have some good luck, and the fifth Supreme Elder also said that I was a late bloomer. Once I was enlightened, I could soar to the 9th heaven. If you want to challenge me, I will accept. Very well, if you lose, you will automatically give up your qualification. Don't make a fool of yourself, you are not worthy. Whether I am worthy or not, it is not up to you to decide. Winning and losing is a common thing for practitioners. Don't be arrogant if you win, don't be discouraged if you lose. Cut the crap, if you want to challenge me, then come. Don't talk about my qualification to enter the secret wonderland. This qualification was set by the sect leader, and I will definitely take it. Chen Hao's expression became cold, and his eyes were even sharper. This made those who knew Li Mubai a little surprised. Could it be that this guy had really made progress in just a few hundred years of experience? The noisy crowd, with Chen Hao's words, instantly calmed down. Good, well said. This boy has surpassed his master, haha. That's right. In the distance, Tian Wanxiang and the fifth Supreme Elder both nodded. Although the battle had not yet started, Li Mubai's words were powerful, neither servile nor overbearing, and were very strategic. As for whether he was brave or not, it would depend on his performance. Of course, the two of them did not think that Li Mubai would have any amazing performance now. The guy who challenged Li Mubai knew that Li Mubai would not give up the qualification to enter the secret wonderland so easily, but he did not expect that Li Mubai would refuse so directly. At the same time, Li Mubai's cold and sharp eyes made him extremely angry. Was he a coward that even someone like Li Mubai was not afraid of him? You don't know what's good for you. I will teach you a lesson first. See you in the martial arts practice field. Boom! The challenger who stood up for Zhang Chong suddenly shot out and flew as fast as lightning to the martial arts practice field in the core of the Daluo Jingxian Palace area. Do you think I am afraid of you? Chen Hao said in a cold voice. His figure also shot out in an instant. Li Mubai's speed is actually so fast? What surprised many people was that Chen Hao's figure was like a rock spreading its wings. His speed was even faster than the challengers who were ranked hundreds of places higher than him. In the distance, even Tian Wanxiang was slightly surprised. However, when he thought about how Li Mubai had chased the immortal destiny for more than 200 years in the chaotic space, it was somewhat understandable. On the other hand, the fifth Grand Elder did not feel anything. After all, his understanding of Li Mubai was limited to this period of time. The previous Li Mubai was simply not qualified to attract his attention. This brat has indeed improved a little, but it's still far from enough. The disciples of the Daluo Golden Wonderland realm of the Hunyuan sect would hold a ranking battle every 1,000 years. Within 1,000 years after the ranking battle, any disciple who was not satisfied with their ranking could choose to challenge them. Therefore, in the Hunyuan sect, challenges were commonplace. The martial arts practice field was managed by the top masters of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm at all times. In fact, Li Mubai's sudden occupation of a place caused so many people to be dissatisfied and challenge him. In addition to the importance of the secret grotto heaven, it was also related to the selection conditions. The qualification to enter the secret grotto heaven was not completely based on the ranking. There was basically no problem for the top 20. Among the bottom 10, the first few places were also not a big problem. However, the last 4 or 5 places were often not completely based on the ranking. Some comprehensive factors had to be taken into consideration. The probability of a cultivator in the top 30 was naturally higher, but it was also possible to be in the top 50 or even the top 100. Therefore, Li Mubai's sudden occupation of a place caused so many people to be unconcealed and ostracized. Take this. When the challenger saw that Li Mubai had entered the martial arts practice field before him, his face became even more embarrassed. Without thinking, he punched out in the air. Boom! The huge shadow of the fist, which contained 100% of his strength, rushed toward Chen Hao like a huge mountain. Mountain Sea Divine Fist? Through Li Mubai's memory, Chen Hao recognized at a glance that his opponent was using the ultimate technique of the Hunyuan sect's Daluo Golden Wonderland, the Mountain Sea Divine Fist. The fist intent was like a mountain, and the fist force was like the roar of the sea. The fist could shatter mountains and break seas. Boom! Chen Hao's fighting spirit suddenly erupted. His essence, qi, and spirit soared into the sky. At the same time, he punched out to meet the attack. It was the same Mountain Sea Divine Fist. It would be easy for Chen Hao to defeat this person. However, this was Chen Hao, not Li Mubai. This person's ranking was more than 100 places higher than his in the ranking competition 200 years ago. Now, although they were both at the peak of the late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, in terms of absolute strength, he was obviously stronger than Li Mubai. However, that was 200 years ago. Moreover, this guy was not in the top 100. Chen Hao could not perform too amazingly all of a sudden. However, if he improved by a lot, as long as it was not too exaggerated, he believed that even Li Mubai's master would only be surprised and would not suspect anything. Moreover, the 5th Grand Elder had said that his comprehension was amazing. Could it be that he was a late bloomer? This was a test of Chen Hao's strength. He had to control it well. He had to win, and he had to win in a way that was not too exaggerated. Boom! The fist shadows collided. The terrifying shock wave was like a landslide and a tsunami. Chen Hao, who was standing on the martial arts practice field, was pushed back thousands of feet, leaving deep footprints on the ground. As for the challenger who was pressing down from the void, his body only bounced back up by 20 feet before he pressed down again. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, there were thousands of fist shadows, each stronger than the last. As Chen Hao retreated, he also quickly punched out. Although he was obviously completely suppressed by his opponent, his cold and firm eyes showed no fear and did not panic. "Is that all you have? Trash. Kneel down for me." Chi 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 chi. After the challenger forced Chen Hao to retreat step by step and gained the absolute upper hand, he shouted with disdain and ridicule. Suddenly, he integrated all kinds of magical powers into his fist. What he wanted was not only to defeat Chen Hao, but also to humiliate him. Only in this way could he achieve his goal. He wanted to let everyone see how such a coward was qualified to enter the secret realm. 18 magical powers condensed into the Mountain Sea Divine Fist. Amazing! Chen Hao could not help but secretly praise. Even if he could annihilate his opponent with a wave of his hand, his combat skills and magical powers were definitely much stronger than those of the top geniuses in the vast universe galaxy. Chen Hao also knew the reason. This was also the reason why he felt excited about the chaotic vast thousand worlds when he first got Li Mubai's memory. The cultivation environment of a sect and the way to improve the strength of a sect's disciples were not something that the vast universe galaxy could compare with. Secondly, the various levels of academies that gathered all young cultivators in the vast universe world were also the most suitable places for cultivators to grow. Unfortunately, although Li Mubai's aptitude and strength could be regarded as a top genius in the entire chaotic vast thousand worlds, he was mediocre in a top sect like the Hunyuan sect. He was not even qualified to enter a first-class academy. I'll fight for you, ah! While he was thinking, on the surface, Chern Hao crazily gathered his strength and condensed Li Mubai's supreme unique skill into his fist. It was still a fight. Second update, there will be more tonight. Can I have a monthly vote? Thank you. Chapter 947. Rumble. The endless immortal light was like heavy shackles that shrouded Chern Hao the moment the fist shadows collided. Chern Hao felt that his soul and body were about to be bound, and his knees were about to kneel down uncontrollably. Kneel! Kneel for me! As Chern Hao's fleshly body got closer and closer, Chern Hao's knees began to buckle bit by bit. Blood trickled down the corners of his mouth, and the pores all over his body turned bright red from the pressure. It was as if blood was about to spurt out, and the bones in his body began to emit ear-piercing cracking sounds. Rumble! But at this moment, Chern Hao's face flashed with complete anger and madness. His essence, chi, spirit, true essence, and physical strength were all burning crazily, as if a small universe had erupted, and he shattered the divine power laws that bound and humiliated his opponent. Puff! He spat out a mouthful of essence blood. This burst of power that exceeded his body's capacity caused him to suffer serious internal injuries. You can break through? Well, let's see how I'll beat you until you kneel and beg for mercy. Chi, the challenger said arrogantly. As he spoke, he didn't even use the divine power laws, and directly rushed toward Chern Hao. Obviously, at this time, it was more exciting and humiliating to be suppressed in close combat. Roar! Chern Hao's eyes were scarlet, and he was like an injured wild wolf. His expression was twisted, and he clenched his teeth and suddenly burst out with a roar. His long hair fluttered, and his Taoist robe swelled. An extremely heavy and violent punch seemed to want to suck out all his strength, and it was completely condensed on his fist as he punched out. Close combat. No one knew whether Li Mubai was too injured to dodge or fight from a distance, or whether Li Mubai's brain was flooded with water. It was obvious that he would choose this method to trample on his opponent. But at the moment when Chern Hao's arm was fully extended and his fist was completely out, his whole body suddenly shot out like a fully drawn bow. Boom! Dazzling immortal light burst out from his fist. Huh! What? The level of the laws of divine ability can actually break through the barrier during battle. At this moment, among the crowd, cultivators with higher cultivations cried out in surprise. Good! This brat was finally enlightened. According to his comprehension ability, he should have broken through long ago. Without any misgivings, he boldly let go. Under this kind of extremely humiliating suppression, he broke through the dam and broke through the barrier. Very good, very good. He has just begun to show his edge. The fifth Grand Elder, who was watching the battle from afar, immediately said excitedly, repeatedly saying good. Li Mubai's comprehension ability, and the fact that he was able to make a breakthrough in his comprehension of the heavenly Tao laws in the midst of battle had surprised even him. After all, Li Mubai had cultivated for tens of thousands of years. It was not easy for him to change his mentality and nature, but now, it seemed that Li Mubai was far more malleable than he had imagined. The fifth Grand Elder even felt that this might be Li Mubai's true nature. His previous personality and mentality were completely caused by his master, Tian Wanxiang, not being strong enough and the way he was trained. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Is this still my disciple? Looks like I've really buried this brat's talent. Fifth Grand Elder is still the best. You're simply enlightening him with wisdom and enlightening him. Tian Wanxiang was so excited that his beard trembled. At this moment, even he began to suspect that his way of training was really wrong. Or rather, the previous him did not really understand his disciple at all. Bang! Bang 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 bang. When the real fists collided, the challenger, who was confident of victory, cried out in shock and anger. Immediately, Chern Hao's violent attack of hundreds and thousands of punches rained down like a torrential rain, forcing the challenger to desperately block each move. This sudden reversal not only made the challenger unable to accept it, but also made the onlookers so surprised that they could not close their mouths. Chern Hao took advantage of the moment when his opponent was shocked and seized the opportunity to wildly punch, not giving his opponent any room to maneuver. Each punch was stronger than the previous one, fiercer than the previous one, and fiercer than the previous one. Fortunately, his opponent was not a chicken or pottery dog. Even if Chern Hao had increased the level of his Dao laws and his absolute power had soared, he was not much stronger than his opponent. Of course, this was exactly what Chern Hao wanted. Even so, under Chern Hao's violent attacks, the challenger, who had lost the initiative, was completely suppressed. In close combat, the law of divine powers condensed on the physical body. After only 2 minutes, he could no longer keep up with Chern Hao's rhythm, roar. Chern Hao seized the opportunity and condensed all the strength in his body into a punch. He suddenly burst out with a roar and punched out. Bang! Boom! Amid a scream of shock and anger, the challenger was punched in the chest by Chern Hao. Like a kite with a broken string, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His chest caved in like a fist, and he was sent flying backward. Whoosh! A stream of light flashed and Chern Hao rose into the air, chased after him, and stomped his foot down. Bang! The training ground shook. Under the shocked eyes of the crowd, Chern Hao stomped on the challenger's knees. His large hand, which contained streaks of immortal light, grabbed the challenger's neck from behind and forced him to kneel on the ground. Who's kneeling? Do you really think that I, Li Mubai, am a pushover? Enough! Duan Chern admits defeat. At this moment, Zhang Chong said sternly. His expression was extremely ugly. Everyone knew that the person who had challenged Duan Chern was his lackey. But now, he was being stomped under the feet of a mediocre person like Li Mubai and forced to kneel on the ground. This was a slap to his face. It was too embarrassing. Humph, even a clay figurine has its limit. Remember to keep your dog under control. It's fine if you're strong, but if you're not, why did you come out to bite me? You're courting death. Chern Hao's eyes were still red, and he spoke as if he could not restrain his anger. He turned his head to look at Zhang Chong, and he was not afraid at all. As he spoke, he kicked the completely bound Duan Chern and sent him flying in Zhang Chong's direction. I, Li Mubai, am indeed mediocre. But since I'm recognized by the 5th Grand Elder and received the sect leader's promise to give me the right to enter the secret land, I'm naturally qualified. My strength may be weak now, but no one can force me to give up my spot. If you want to challenge me, bring it on. No matter who it is, I'll accept it. Don't tell me that I'll give up my spot if I lose. I don't care if I win or lose. As for my spot, no one can force me to give it up. After a few hundred years of experience, I'm in need of a battle. I welcome any challenge. Whoosh! Chern Hao's voice resounded throughout the area. After he finished speaking, he turned into a stream of light and left quickly. Before he entered his palace, he finally could not hold back and spat out a mouthful of blood. He staggered to open the palace door and disappeared from everyone's sight. Good, you're brave and resourceful. Hiss. The 5th Grand Elder disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he had quietly arrived at Li Mubai's palace. The restriction of the palace was useless to a Dao severing genuine immortal like him. Chern Hao did not even sense the slightest fluctuation before the 5th Grand Elder appeared in front of him. Third update. Wushan, please continue to write. Thank you. Chapter 948. Greetings, Qi. Chern Hao had just opened his mouth when the 5th Grand Elder pointed a finger at him. Qi. 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 In the blink of an eye, streaks of crystalline light of different colors connected Chern Hao and the 5th Grand Elder like tentacles. No need to say more. Leave the healing to me. You should have gained a lot from this battle. Digest it well and consolidate the realm of Taoist principles first. Chen Hao felt the extremely pure energy of different attributes flowing through his meridians. He looked at the fifth Grand Elder gratefully and slowly closed his eyes. Li Mubai, I'll give you 1 day to heal. See you tomorrow at the training field at this time. At this moment, Zhang Chang's gnashing voice pierced through the air. Chen Hao frowned slightly but did not pay attention to it. He directly entered the state of comprehension and cultivation. Phew, when Chen Hao opened his eyes again, Li Mubai's physical injuries were not only completely healed but also slightly tempered by the energy of a Tao severing genuine immortal. Healing is actually a kind of cultivation. If it were any other time, I would naturally not help you. That would be spoiling things through excessive enthusiasm. The gains do not make up for the losses. However, this time is an exception. You only need to work hard on the in-depth understanding of the divine power law. As long as you improve, I can make your physical body match the strongest power you can use. Your performance today is not bad, but it is far from enough. Continue to work hard. Yes, fifth Grand Elder. Zhang Chong is very likely to be qualified for the Secret Realm Grotto Heaven. Tomorrow's battle will be a life and death battle. There is no need to have any scruples. The master in charge of the training field will take the initiative to stop the battle when any of you is in danger of dying. Okay. Chen Hao nodded firmly. Well, you can cultivate on your own. As soon as he finished speaking, the fifth Grand Elder disappeared into thin air. Chen Hao took a deep breath and closed his eyes again. Zhang Chong, ranked 46th 200 years ago. I didn't participate in the last 2 ranking tournaments. Perhaps he has improved, or else he wouldn't have the chance to qualify for the Grotto Heaven. Defeat and victory are indeed 2 different outcomes, Chen Hao thought to himself. If he were to lose today's battle, Zhang Chong would not challenge him so soon. But today, he had won. Moreover, he had broken through the realm of the divine ability laws in the midst of battle, erupting with even greater battle prowess. It's him then. Before the battle tomorrow, I must first finish devouring, refining, and fusing with his soul origin. After pondering for a moment, Chen Hao made up his mind. If he wanted to steal the sky and swap the sun under the eyes of the fifth Grand Elder and Tian Wanxiang, there must be no flaws. He had to start from the most fundamental part of the soul origin. He didn't have to destroy Li Mubai's soul origin, but let his own soul origin penetrate it bit by bit, completely occupy it, then devour, refine, and imitate it bit by bit. It had to be done bit by bit, especially at the beginning. It couldn't be fast. This was like completely changing all the materials of a tall building, but couldn't be rebuilt, and couldn't attract anyone's attention. The only way was to tear down a brick and replace it with a different material. Starting from the brick that looked exactly the same on the surface, replacing it bit by bit, and finally replacing the entire building without attracting any attention. Infiltrate, devour, refine a bit, imitate a bit, infiltrate again, devour, refine a bit, imitate a bit. Such a cycle repeated over and over again until the simulation was complete. It was extremely difficult to do any one of these things. It required extremely high control and precise control of the soul, as well as having the power to absolutely suppress the other party's soul origin. The most difficult thing was to imitate the aura. Not to mention Daluo Jinxian, even the peak of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm couldn't do it. Even a cutting Tao true immortal would find it difficult to do it, because not everyone had the 3,000 great paths, which were almost the most mysterious and profound laws of the universe. There weren't many extreme path spiritual cultivators who spent their entire lives studying the spiritual cultivation's secret arts for the healing and growth of the soul. Similarly, not everyone knew the Carving Heart Sutra that integrated everything in the world. All kinds of factors were indispensable. It wasn't strange to be proficient in one, rare to be proficient in two, and basically impossible to be proficient in three. But Chern Hao had condensed all of these into one. Phew! Let's begin. Hiss. In an instant, Chern Hao's mind was completely integrated into his mind. He began the first step of stealing the sky and swapping the sun. F***ck. Fortunately, you're wise and powerful, senior brother. Otherwise, if I were to go up today, I'm afraid I'd be utterly embarrassed. Yes, I didn't expect Li Mubai to be able to break through the realm of comprehending the laws of the divine powers in battle. His combat power directly soared by 40%. I don't know if this guy has accumulated enough or if he's forced to erupt his potential. If it's the former, we're really at the bottom of the valley. If it's the latter, I can only say that he's just lucky. You're wrong. I think the latter is more terrifying. Such a person will become stronger the more he's forced. The more he fights, the more his potential will erupt. Such a person is definitely a natural battle maniac. I hope that he's accumulated enough and improved through channels. Is he as powerful as you say? Of course. Think about it. If he's very strong, then you'll be mentally prepared from the beginning. If you're no match for him, you naturally won't provoke him. If you provoke him, you'll naturally be able to crush him. But he suddenly erupted at the last moment and made a comeback. What does that mean? Today, if Duan Chern had been mentally prepared, he might not have lost. People who can stimulate their potential at the last moment are usually people who can create miracles. Because at the beginning, they're all people who are looked down upon. That makes sense. What you're saying is too incredible. Do you think I don't know Li Mubai? In my opinion, he just got lucky and suddenly had a burst of strength. It's impossible for him to erupt this time. However, he's indeed much stronger than he was a few hundred years ago. It seems that he must have obtained some kind of opportunity and improved a lot. We'll see tomorrow. A salted fish turning over a new leaf. It seems that the fifth Grand Elder has taken a fancy to Li Mubai. Perhaps he's really special. The strength he displayed in today's battle is probably enough to enter the top 100 of the Hunyuan sects, Daluo Jingxian. Could it be that he's a late bloomer, a dragon soaring into the 9 heavens after comprehending the Tao overnight? Dream on. He's improved a little. Dragon soaring into the 9 heavens? Don't laugh at me. Let's see tomorrow. He'll definitely be beaten down by Zhang Chong. On this day, Li Mubai's eruption set off a hurricane in the Daluo Golden Wonderland Circle. Chapter 949. Imperceptibly, those who had previously described Li Mubai as a dog's fart no longer dared to belittle him, even though they still felt that he was not qualified to obtain a place to enter the secret realm. Even some of the elders who were secretly paying attention to this matter were slightly surprised. As for the initiators who had added fuel to the fire in order for their disciples to obtain a place to enter the secret realm, they were very unhappy. Especially Zhang Chong's master, who was even more unhappy. He was unhappy that Li Mubai was able to break through and counterattack. At the same time, he was unhappy that Zhang Chong was as impulsive as his name suggested. Previously, he had warned him not to be too hasty. Now, Ma Qianzu had been slapped in the face and Zhang Chong's challenge had been pushed to the forefront. Even he, as the master, had lost face. The next day, at dusk, under the afterglow of the setting sun, the Daluo Jingxian Palace district, which was originally like a fairyland, was now covered with a gorgeous and colorful glow. The battle between Li Mubai and Duan Chen yesterday had broken out at this point. At this moment, the entire martial arts practice field was filled with many more Daluo Golden Wonderland cultivators than yesterday. Obviously, a large portion of them had rushed back to the sect from other places after receiving the news. Zhang Chong had already arrived at the martial arts practice field and was sitting cross-legged with his eyes slightly closed. His entire aura was extremely calm, as though he had blended into the heaven and earth. Under the glow of the sunset, he shone brightly. The time has come. Li Mubai, when are you going to appear? Amidst the buzz of discussion, a cultivator in the crowd suddenly stretched out his neck and roared. His voice directly penetrated the void and reverberated throughout heaven and earth. You boasted so shamelessly yesterday. Are you going to be a coward today? Another voice sounded. Both of them were in Zhang Chang's group. However, Duan Chen, who had been beaten to the point of kneeling and humiliating by Chen Hao yesterday, did not appear. Naturally, this was not because his injuries were too severe. At their cultivation level, as long as their souls were not severely damaged, they would recover very quickly. One day was enough. Obviously, he was too ashamed to appear. There's still no movement. Could it be that he's really scared? What puzzled everyone was that the two's provocative shouts could be heard even from tens of thousands of kilometers away. Li Mubai clearly knew that there was a battle today, so it was impossible for him to still be in closed-door cultivation at this time, so there was no reason for him not to hear their shouts. However, Li Mubai's palace did not move at all, nor did it respond. Li Mubai, are you playing dumb? Or are you afraid that Senior Marshal Brother Zhang will beat you until you wet your pants and beg for mercy? You coward, didn't you clamor so happily yesterday? The two of them became even more aggressive, and their curses became more and more unpleasant. F***ck, to think that I was still admiring his courage and improvement yesterday. Now that I've risen to the occasion, he's gone. Looks like he was blinded by his victory yesterday. That's why he shamelessly welcomed the challenge. A coward will always be a coward. How boring! The people in the crowd who were watching the show were also unhappy and started to curse. Wasn't this a waste of energy? They had waited for so long in vain. They had been looking forward to the exciting battle and humiliating show today. There's one more thing, one last thing. No one knew that Chen Hao had reached the most critical moment of the stealing the sky and swapping the sun of his soul origin. His entire person was immersed in the cultivation room, and his appearance was calm as if he was immersed in some kind of deep level of comprehension. However, in the great world of his mind, under the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree, terrifying immortal light was blooming. The majestic and terrifying soul power condensed into endless runes, causing the sea of spirit springs within tens of thousands of kilometers around him to set off monstrous waves. This was something that could not be helped. Chen Hao had to complete all his work in his great world of mind. Otherwise, his master would be fine, but the fifth great elder, who was a Tao-severing true immortal, could see his situation with just a thought. What would happen if this abnormal fluctuation was discovered? What's going on? This kid has just broken through the barrier of the divine power law. Is he going to break through again? Indeed, the fifth great elder's divine sense had quietly penetrated Chen Hao's palace. He was slightly moved when he sensed Chen Hao's aura. Anyone who saw Chen Hao's aura could tell that he was in the midst of a profound comprehension. The fifth great elder could not help but be surprised. Boom! 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 Crash! The sea of spirit springs suddenly exploded in all directions with Chen Hao's soul and the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree as the core. Endless Tao laws rolled and waves of qi soared into the sky. It's done! Chen Hao suddenly opened his eyes in the cultivation room and said excitedly, "Qi." As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a stream of light and rushed out of the palace. It's done? Did he really break through again? Good kid! The fifth great elder was really shocked this time. His powerful perception could clearly sense that Li Mubai's soul aura had become much stronger and sharper. This was not an increase in soul power. No one could increase soul power, which was the hardest thing to increase, in just a day. Instead, it was a change in the nature of the soul. If Li Mubai was compared to a sword, Then yesterday he was a sword that had not been sharpened. Today, he had been sharpened and its edge was on full display. This is definitely a monstrous genius. After opening the apertures, it's like being reborn, cleansing his meridians and marrow. He's a real dragon in the abyss. Good, it's lucky that I discovered it early. Otherwise, who knows how many old fellows would want to snatch it from me. Ah! The fifth great elder laughed excitedly in his palace, his beard trembling. Little Tian, get over here! Fifth great elder, what orders do you have? Seeing his disciple Li Mubai rush out of the palace, Tian Wanxiang, who was relieved, was suddenly shocked by the fifth great elder's voice transmission. Drink. Cough cough. Okay, disciple will immediately get over there. Ha. The fifth great elder was amused by Tian Wanxiang. When one was in a good mood, one would be happy about anything. Who says I don't dare? It's just the right time. Just when everyone was looking down on Li Mubai, the door of Li Mubai's palace suddenly opened. At the same time, Li Mubai's voice was like a sharp sword piercing through the air. Chi! A stream of light flashed past. Li Mubai was as fast as lightning in the middle of the martial arts practice field. F***ck, what a fast speed! It can't be, he's so much faster than yesterday. How is this possible? Could it be that this guy was still hiding his strength yesterday? Chen Hao's appearance caused countless people to be surprised. But Chen Hao didn't care at all. All of this was within Chen Hao's expectations. Accidents, he also needed to have the ability to create accident. His soul force didn't change, and the transformation of his soul origin, he believed that this kind of change was reasonable and there was no flaw. He had already completed the first step of stealing the sun. At this moment, no one would be able to discover that he wasn't Li Mubai unless they entered his soul origin. Chapter 950. Zhang Chong, who was sitting cross-legged like an old monk in meditation, suddenly opened his eyes the moment Chen Hao stepped onto the martial arts practice field. Boom! His eyes were as sharp as swords, and his essence, qi, and spirit erupted like a volcano. With a boom, his fighting spirit soared crazily, and an overwhelming pressure swept out, shocking the surrounding cultivators. 20 years ago, Zhang Chong was ranked 41st in the Primordial Chaos Sect's most recent 100-year ranking competition for Golden Immortal Disciples of the Great All-Embracing Heaven. He was indeed several places higher than Li Mubai remembered his ranking 200 years ago. It didn't seem big, but after reaching the peak of the late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, it would be difficult to make any progress in 1,000 years, let alone hundreds of years. To be able to rise several places in a short 200 years was already quite outstanding. Because of this, even though Zhang Chong was ranked 41st, he was very likely to be qualified to enter the secret realm. If he could rise to the 5th or 6th place, with his progress in the past 200 years, his chances would be greater than those who were ranked ahead of him. However, it was precisely because his ranking was a few places behind that the situation became very complicated. If Chen Hao took another place, his chances would be reduced by more than half. This was also the reason why he was more anxious than those who were ranked higher. Amazing! To everyone's surprise, Zhang Chong stared at Li Mubai and said these two words. It seems that yesterday's outburst was not without reason. In the ranking competition 300 years ago, you were just a mediocre character. The strength you showed yesterday was already amazing, but today you give me the feeling that you are even stronger. Maybe you are really a late bloomer for the 5th Grand Elder to take a fancy to you. Li Mubai, I underestimated you. Today, if I can't defeat you within 100 moves, you will be qualified to enter the secret realm. And my challenge today is just the beginning. I, Zhang Chong, will definitely get a place to enter the secret realm. Clang! As soon as Zhang Chong's voice fell, a scarlet waterfall bloomed from between his eyebrows. In an instant, the temperature of the entire martial arts practice field suddenly became abnormally hot. Saber Dao. What does Zhang Chong mean? While the crowd was surprised by Zhang Chong's seriousness, they were also slightly confused by Zhang Chong's words. It's very simple. Li Mubai's speed was so fast that there are no more than 50 people here who can match him. Although his current aura was not as strong as yesterday, it gave people a feeling of sharpness, as if he had been reborn. 300 years ago, what was Li Mubai's ranking? More than 4,000. What about today, 300 years later? If he could take 100 moves from Zhang Chong, then he would definitely be comparable to the top 50 experts. This rate of improvement was extremely terrifying. Since ancient times, the disciples of the secret realm have not been selected solely based on the ranking of combat power, and Zhang Chong is now ranked 41st. Li Mubai has taken a place. If he wants to enter again, he has to show more strength. That's why he said that the challenge is just the beginning. Phew, this is going to be interesting. There will be a good show to watch. That's right. There's still one more month before the list is announced. There will be a good show in this month. It wasn't so lively in the past. At most, there would be people who would challenge a few days before the list was announced. After all, the secret realm only opens once every 10 years. For us, it's hard to improve even in 100 or 1,000 years. That's right. This Li Mubai must have gotten some great opportunity. He didn't participate in the previous 2 ranking competitions, but after returning from the experience, he has improved so much. The crowd discussed animatedly. At this moment, although the battle had not started, Chen Hao's appearance and Zhang Chong's words made everyone unable to underestimate Li Mubai anymore. However, Zhang Chong's tone suddenly changed. His calm expression suddenly became sinister. No matter if you can last 100 moves, I will beat you to the ground. I will make you kneel in front of me and seek justice for junior brother Duan Chen. Ruthless. I said, this is the real Zhang Chong. Zhang Chong is famous for being hot-tempered, but he's very loyal. Duan Chen stood up for him. If he doesn't return the favor, then he wouldn't be Zhang Chong. That's expected. At this moment, all eyes were on Li Mubai. Zhang Chong's words were so ruthless. Even if Li Mubai's improvement was amazing, it was inevitable that he would be humiliated today. Under everyone's gaze, Chen Hao, whose fighting spirit was soaring but whose expression was solemn, suddenly smiled and said, "Ridiculous, don't forget, who was the one who said that he wanted the other to kneel. Now you want to talk about justice with me? You're just asking to be humiliated. If you have the ability, then come at me. It's not certain who will be the one to kneel. Don't think that you're strong now, but you'll always be strong. A fair duel is nothing more than winning or losing. If you humiliate me, then you should be prepared to be humiliated 100 times more in the future." As soon as he finished speaking, the smile on Chen Hao's face vanished completely, and his gaze became ghastly and fierce to the extreme. Where was this the Li Mubai who bullied the weak and feared the strong? Chen Hao's words clearly expressed a message. That was, he was indeed a little weak now. Perhaps he was not Zhang Chong's opponent at all, but it did not mean that he would always be inferior. Whoever humiliated him today, he would return it 100 times more in the future. Showing off his ability, showing off his magnificence. This made the surrounding cultivators, especially those who were prepared to be the pawns of others to humiliate Chen Hao, shudder. If Li Mubai was really the mediocre person of the past, it would be fine. But now, the feeling Li Mubai gave people had completely changed. Especially when they thought of the amazing improvement after returning this time, these people had no choice but to reconsider. Zhang Chong was also choked by Chen Hao's fierce counterattack, and his expression became extremely ugly. "You've got guts. See how I humiliate you today. I'd like to see how strong you can be in the future. Take this." Zhang Chong roared angrily, and the large saber that was blooming with crimson light, which was obviously a top-grade saint artifact, suddenly swept out. Immediately, a fiery red waterfall containing terrifying power and divine ability laws swept out at a violent speed, as if cutting the void into two, and slashed at Chen Hao's waist. Chi. In a flash, he was in front of Chen Hao. The violent and terrifying power was mixed with a frightening sharpness, and even Chen Hao could feel the strength of this guy. It had to be said that Zhang Chong was indeed very strong, as he could be ranked 41st in the top Hunyuan sect, Daluo Golden Wonderland. Indeed, he was not someone that Li Mubai could contend with at the moment, but only Li Mubai, and not Chen Hao himself. Mountain Sea Divine Fist. Boom. Chen Hao's pupils shrank, and he suddenly soared into the air and punched out. A violent wind raged and Dao laws rolled. The fist intent was monstrous, and it was definitely more than 60% stronger than yesterday. Dodge? Humph, I'd like to see how you dodge it. Chi 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 chi. At that instant, streams of crimson light streaked across the sky. The saber glows were dazzling. The sharp and violent saber chi mixed with a ferocious and terrifying force slashed at Chen Hao. Chapter 951. The saber gleams intertwined like a heavenly net, covering the sky and the sun. The terrifying aura made countless cultivators in the surroundings gasp. Even the few cultivators who were ranked higher than Zhang Chong had a grave expression on their faces at this moment. Chi chi chi, boom 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 boom. Chen Hao's figure was as fast as lightning. Under the terrifying blade lights and the heavy pressure, he was actually able to dodge them repeatedly. Moreover, his fists flickered, smashing apart the blade chi one after another. Amidst the terrifying explosions, Zhang Chong's expression became increasingly violent and ruthless. He had used 90% of his strength in this move. Although he did not think that it would be able to heavily injure Li Mubai, it was definitely not a problem to suppress him. But now, under his blade lights, his opponent actually had the strength to fight back. This made Zhang Chong very unhappy. He was an expert ranked 41st. Your improvement is indeed astonishing. Zhang Chong coldly snorted, his eyes narrowing, but it's still far from enough. Is that so? The corner of Chen Hao's mouth curled up in a provocative and cold smile as he violently punched out. Soon after, his pupils abruptly shrank as they flashed with a fierce red light. All the hair on his body stood on end as his hands formed one rune after another at lightning speed. The resplendent rune light and the majestic and vigorous true essence made Chen Hao seem like a tornado that was rotating at high speed, causing the spectators nearby to feel suffocated. At the same time, they were shocked. Was this guy crazy? Zhang Chong had not even taken the initiative to approach, but he actually took the initiative to get close. What was the difference between this and seeking death? Although Li Mubai's strength, speed, and use of divine ability law had broken everyone's understanding of him, he still could not compare with Zhang Chong. Obviously, this was a very stupid tactic. Or perhaps, after Li Mubai's strength had skyrocketed, his confidence had exploded, and he had become arrogant to the point of looking down on everyone. But no matter what, for Zhang Chong, this was a naked provocation and contempt. What's wrong with this kid? Even the fifth Grand Elder, Tian Wanxiang, who was drinking to his heart's content, furrowed his brows. It was a good thing that Li Mubai's soul had undergone a true transformation today, but it seemed that his confidence was a little too inflated. The two of them didn't pay much attention to what he said earlier. After all, in their eyes, it was because they were backing him up, which allowed him to go all out and fight without any scruples. But now, he had actually taken the initiative to close in on him. Did he really think that he was invincible? You're courting death. Rumble! Zhang Chong roared angrily. Suddenly, a terrifying rumbling sound came from under his feet as he violently charged towards Chen Hao. 10,000 saber astrals, 10,000 layers of heaven. Violent true essence gushed out from his large saber, and one could not see the saber vibrate at all. Countless crimson-red saber auras directly appeared in front of him. The terrifying cutting force and strangling force seemed to have divided the void into layers of heaven and earth, and its momentum was shocking to the extreme. No one had expected that Zhang Chong, who was infuriated by Chen Hao's provocation, would actually directly display such a terrifying ultimate move. 100% of his strength, 10 layers of magical powers, without holding back. At this time, everyone thought that Li Mubai would definitely be scared out of his wits and retreat. However, boom! Chen Hao's eyes, which were already scarlet red, seemed to be blind to this. Roar! He let out a furious roar like that of a wild beast. The symbols that had condensed were all blasted out along with his wild punch. Strong. At this time, everyone could clearly feel that Li Mubai, who seemed to have gone crazy, had once again broken through his own limits with this punch, and an extremely terrifying power erupted. Qi. Qi as Chen Hao punched out, his body bloomed with dazzling light, and the energy of heaven and earth within 1,000 miles surged and was almost drained in an instant. At the same time, everyone was shocked to find that Chen Hao's punch was rapidly increasing in size. Not only did it drain the energy of heaven and earth, but it also drained Chen Hao's spirit, physical strength, and true essence under the connection of Chen Hao's divine thoughts. A crazed and furious roar gushed out from Chen Hao's mouth, but this time, everyone could hear the extreme terror and pain contained within it. What's going on? Confusion and sparks appeared in everyone's hearts. Oh no! 9 restrictions! Rumble when Chen Hao's heaven-defying punch collided with Zhang Chong's 10,000 saber energies, an earth-shattering airwave erupted. At this moment, the peak late-stage master of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, who was guarding the martial arts practice field, exclaimed, "Oh no!" and suddenly attacked. At the same time, the words, 9 restrictions, came from the 5th Great Elder's mouth. He disappeared from the palace, as if he had broken through the void and arrived above the training field with a single step. He arrived before Chen Hao, and his brilliant celestial light enveloped Chen Hao. Bam! However, before the immortal light could reach him, Chen Hao's body, which had been sucked dry by the lightning sparks, turned into fine powder and scattered into the void. His physical body was destroyed. 5th Grand Elder, save me! In the horrifying explosion, Li Mubai's vital spirit cried for help in horror. Qi. The immortal light, which had paused for a moment, suddenly penetrated the layers of explosions and protected Chen Hao's vital spirit. At the same time, all the raging saber energy and fist energy suddenly disappeared. The world suddenly became extremely quiet, and not even a wisp of dust was left. Everyone was shocked by this sudden turn of events. They stared blankly at the martial arts practice field, at the 5th Grand Elder who stood proudly, at Li Mubai's vital spirit who was enveloped in the immortal light, and at Zhang Chong, who was also dumbfounded. "No. It's not me. I didn't expect." Zhang Chong looked at the 5th Grand Elder in horror and said with trepidation, "I've failed in my duty. Please punish me, 5th Grand Elder." Hongmeng, who was guarding the martial arts practice field, bowed down and said with an embarrassed expression, although he knew that this was not his responsibility, he could not avoid being blamed for not stopping it in advance. The 5th Grand Elder's expression was ugly. He took a deep breath, as if to calm the struggle in his heart, and then said, "Forget it, this has nothing to do with you. 9th limit." This kid actually broke through the 9th limit and exploded with power that his physical body could not bear. Crash! The 5th Grand Elder's words caused the entire martial arts practice field to explode. Breaking through the 9th limit and exploding with power that exceeded one's physical body, what kind of concept was that? 5th Grand Elder, my physical body is gone. Chen Hao's vital spirit said in extreme pain. "It's fine if you don't want it. It seems that your physical body is the biggest obstacle to your improvement. The ninth limit. How many years has it been? In our Hunyuan sect, in the Daluo Golden Wonderland, only a few people have been able to break through. Master, I'll help you reconstruct your golden body. Qi. The fifth Grand Elder's immortal light enveloped Chen Hao's vital spirit and disappeared from the martial arts practice field. Master? Master, the fifth Grand Elder really took Li Mubai as his disciple. Wushan will continue to write. Today, he still exploded. Looking for monthly votes and recommendation vote. Thank you. Chapter 952. Amazing! No wonder the fifth Grand Elder took a fancy to him. He was able to break through the limit of the 9 limits when he unleashed his potential. This explosive power is too strong. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. Li Mubai's words yesterday were not boasting shamelessly. Even the top geniuses of our Hunyuan sect would find it difficult to achieve such an explosive power. This shows that his soul power and comprehension are extremely strong, but his body and bloodline origin are too weak. This is the reason why his combat strength is limited. The explosion just now broke through the limit of his strength and reached the 9 limit. As a result, the energy in his body was directly sucked dry, causing his body to collapse. Yes, the fifth Grand Elder just said that he would help him reconstruct his golden body. With the fifth Grand Elder's foundation, how can the reconstructed golden body be weak? It will definitely be stronger than the original one. That's for sure. However, the reconstruction of the golden body is still a reconstruction of the golden body after all. No matter how high the grade of the spiritual items used is, they are not the most compatible with his soul. Moreover, the most important thing is his own fusion ability. This is not something that the fifth Grand Elder can help with. On this day, the news that Li Mubai had broken the limit of the 9 limits and destroyed his body spread throughout the Hunyuan sect. The top 20 geniuses of the Daluo Golden Wonderland were all slightly surprised and began to pay attention to this small matter that they had previously disdained. Some of the elders who knew the real reason why Li Mubai was able to obtain the right to enter the secret grotto heaven finally realized that the sect leader's decision to give this place to Li Mubai was not so random. After some of the Grand Elders received the news, they all inquired about Li Mubai's situation. A few of the Grand Elders who were on good terms with the fifth Grand Elder directly went to congratulate him. The fifth Grand Elder did not have a successor because he was too picky. He could not compete with the sect leader, the first Grand Elder, and some old fellows who had not appeared for a long time. Those who were slightly weaker than him were not worthy of his attention. This time, he finally managed to snatch someone he was satisfied with. At this point, Li Mubai's strength was still far from the top dozens of masters in the Hunyuan sect, but no one doubted his qualification to enter the secret land. He had already become the fifth Grand Elder's disciple. Just this point alone was enough to prove that he was not someone who was favored. Moreover, Li Mubai's progress in a short 300 years was indeed shocking. More importantly, he had triggered the 9 restrictions. This was something that no one had expected 2 days ago. Chi immortal rays were lingering deep inside the fifth Great Elder's palace. Rules of Tao were rolling. Thick and pure qi of the heavens and earth lingered in the air. Chen Hao's primordial spirit was floating with his eyes closed. Fifth Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang sat cross-legged in front of Chen Hao's primordial spirit. Both of them frowned as they looked at the pile of black ash in front of them. Strange, it's really strange, a body that has clearly been destroyed into ashes still contains a weak vitality, and it's still gradually strengthening. What's going on? Fifth Grand Elder. Could it be that Mubai's body is not as simple as it looks? It's a kind of bloodline inheritance that we have never heard of? Tian Wanxiang scratched his head and cheeks in confusion. The reason why the fifth Grand Elder took back Chen Hao's destroyed body was to restore the vitality of his original bloodline with the supreme divine power. Then, he would use it as a foundation to strengthen the original bloodline and transform it. This way, the reconstructed golden body would increase the degree of fusion between Li Mubai and it. Even if Li Mubai's original bloodline would definitely taint the powerful original bloodline that was added, it would be worth it. Otherwise, if the degree of fusion was too low, it would be very difficult for Chen Hao's body to grow in the future. Moreover, it might cause the spirit and body to be separated. That would be a serious problem. But what puzzled the fifth Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang was that the black ash of Li Mubai's body had already emitted an extremely weak vitality before the fifth Grand Elder took action. It's possible. Little Tian, you know Mubai's background, right? Of course I know. I raised him single-handedly. He's a father, a mother, and a master. He's the son of my elder brother's son's daughter. They're all very ordinary. To be able to produce a junior like Mubai, he's already a genius among the geniuses of my elder brother's bloodline. If that's the case, then it can only mean that Mubai's own bloodline's origin has mutated. To have collapsed to such an extent, there shouldn't be any vitality. But now, it's emitting vitality, and it's still slowly strengthening. This might be the true immortal bloodline's origin. Tian Wanxiang naturally knew what the true immortal bloodline's origin meant. It was a monster with an almost indestructible body. Unless its soul's origin was also destroyed, its body would be able to repair itself no matter what kind of damage it received. If his body doesn't collapse, I'm afraid he'll never be able to awaken. It's a blessing in disguise. Ha ha ha! What made Tian Wanxiang stare was that the fifth Grand Elder actually looked up to the sky and laughed loudly as he spoke. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of body my disciples will have after he breaks down and re-establishes himself. Tian Wanxiang was speechless at the fifth Grand Elder's, my disciple, but of course, he wouldn't refute. He said, "Fifth Grand Elder, then, what should we do now?" What should we do? We don't need to do anything. This vitality is still slowly growing. We just need to place Mubai's primordial spirit together with it and provide it with abundant spiritual qi of heaven and earth. When the body reorganizes itself, it will be a rebirth and self-evolution. The compatibility will be 100%. It's much better than reconstructing the golden body. That's true. I really didn't expect my disciple to have so many hidden talents. Fifth Grand Elder, you're still the best. If I didn't have an intersection with you this time, I'm afraid he would have been buried by me. It's good that you know. So, don't say that I stole your disciple. How can that be? It's Mubai's blessing to have a master like you, and it's also my blessing. Ha ha. Fifth Grand Elder, Mubai can be considered to have a bloodline inheritance relationship with me. My body hasn't collapsed yet. Do you think, if my body collapses, it's possible for the same situation to happen? I don't mind you trying. If you fail, I can give you my bloodline origin to help you reconstruct your golden body. Cough, cough, forget it. Although your bloodline origin is strong, if you can really absorb half of the golden body when you reconstruct it, it's already very high. And I'm already at the peak of Hongmeng. I don't have much potential to unearth. What a pity, what a pity. When I was young, why didn't I collapse once? Tian Wanxiang seemed to be regretful as he said. Third update, requesting monthly votes. Continue on Wushan. Chapter 953. No matter how strong the bloodline origin was and how powerful the divine sense of the person who reconstructed the golden body was, it was extremely difficult for the reconstructed golden body to obtain even 1/10 of the attributes of the bloodline origin. Otherwise, those legendary physiques would have become common goods that could be found everywhere on the street. Alright, Don't mention Mubai's bloodline origin to anyone for the time being. Just treat it as me reconstructing the golden body for him. Well, okay, in the Hunyuan sect, due to Li Mubai's strong rise and Zhang Chang's failure in his battle with Chen Hao, he took the initiative to challenge the disciples who were ranked at the top, triggering a competition among the genius disciples of the Daluo Golden Wonderland in advance. Everyone wanted to show their true strength and potential before the list was announced to increase their chances of being selected. In the end, only the top 20 geniuses remained calm and did not make a move. As long as there were no accidents, it was basically safe for them. There was no need for them to lower themselves to show off. Almost at the same time, the Daluo Golden Wonderland geniuses of the other top sects in the vast thousand chaotic world were also facing similar situations in the Hunyuan sect. However, this chaos had nothing to do with Chen Hao. He had successfully completed the second step of the purloining. The Sun Li Mubai's physical body had collapsed and his real body had been reconstructed. All of this had been planned by Chen Hao. Otherwise, when Chen Hao was fighting with Zhang Chong, he would not have provoked the other party so recklessly, even using the threat that he would become stronger in the future. What he wanted was to infuriate Zhang Chong so that he would deal a heavy blow. Then, he would use the 9 restrictions, which he could not control, to completely destroy Li Mubai's stinky body. However, before he destroyed it, he had fused his essence blood into Li Mubai's body. That was why his body, which had collapsed into slag, was emitting vitality and slowly strengthening. Of course, if it were anyone else doing this, it would undoubtedly be very dangerous. If they were not careful, even if they did not die, their soul would be severely injured. However, for someone like Chen Hao who could even achieve nirvana of his true self, there was no pressure at all. Ancient Chaos Great Thousand World, 10 Square Territory. As the name implied, the 10-direction territory was under the joint control of the 10 galaxies. This also meant that no one could control it. This was the battlefield where the 10 major galaxies of the ancient Chaos Great Thousand Realms clashed. It was also the most dangerous and cruel training ground under the Daluo Golden Wonderland in the ancient Chaos Great Thousand Realms. It was dangerous and cruel. At any moment, they could face the attacks of experts from other races or even their own race. They were constantly on the brink of death. However, there were also endless opportunities in the 10-direction territory, as well as the energy necessary for the Daluo Golden Wonderland to break through to the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm, Hongming Qi, and the Mark of the Great World, that could only be refined by experts in the Hongmeng realm. Daluo Jinxian, in the ancient Chaos Great Thousand Realms, wanted to break through to the Hongmeng realm. The only choice was to enter the 10-direction territory to train. The human race's vast universe galaxy and the other 9 galaxies had jointly signed a supreme treaty. Here, only cultivators below the Daluo Golden Wonderland could step into this place. If any party violated the treaty, they would be subject to the joint punishment of the 9 parties. Chi 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 chi. Several streamers cut through the sky, tore the space barrier, and suddenly appeared in the space at the edge of the 10-direction territory. Immediately, as fast as lightning, they disappeared into a remote barren mountain. The streamers were not in the shape of humans, but miniature flying machines. If Chen Hao saw this at this moment, he would definitely howl with excitement. Unfortunately, he was thousands of times more miserable than the cowherd and the weaver girl, so it was impossible for him to see it. The 10-direction territory. Hongmeng has just opened. Hongmeng Qi. The world here is indeed different. Finally, we're in. Ha ha. From today on, our Outyin will kill in the 10-direction territory. Watch me, Pan Long, comprehend Hongmeng Qi, obtain the mark of the Great World, create a new world, and trample on Hongmeng. I say, Brother Pan, can you keep a low profile? Do you think this is the vast universe galaxy? Do you think the boss is with us? Before we came, Uncle told us to be careful. Don't take it lightly. F***ck bug, can't I get excited? Boss, why did you mention boss? As Pan Long spoke, his rough and fierce face became extremely gloomy. His bell-like eyes, which were shining with excitement, dimmed at this moment. Senior brother, it's been 10,000 years, where is senior brother now? When can we see him again? I'm sorry. Du Jing could not help but say this. As soon as he finished speaking, he regretted it. Unfortunately, it was too late. Pan Long had already become like this, let alone Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, and the others. For a moment, everyone who had just stepped into the 10-direction territory was silent. Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Long Ting, Tantai Lian, Xia Yuyu, Huan Huan, and Lei Lei all turned their faces away and looked up at the void as if they were looking through the Milky Way. It had been 10,000 years. Where was he? How was he now? In these 10,000 years they had experienced a lot. In addition to continuously praying for Chen Hao according to Yi Lan's request, they had been cultivating crazily to improve themselves. The wait was too long. Only by cultivating crazily could they temporarily put everything aside. Now, under the full cultivation of Yi Lan, Chen Wuliang, Han Mei, Shui Mei, and the others, they, Pan Long, Du Jing, Lan Feng, Li Yang, and Chen Ling had all advanced to the peak of the late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland. As long as they comprehended the Hongming Qi and obtained the Great World Mark, they could try to break the barrier and trigger the heavenly punishment. If they stepped into the Hongming realm, they could step out of the ancient chaos universe and search for Chen Hao's traces. Hu Mainyang and Bailey Ningbing had joined the Proud Heavens Association 10,000 years ago. Their relationship with the other girls was harmonious under the matchmaking of Han Mei and Shui Mei, the two true immortals. At this moment they had also come with the others. No one would come to the 10-direction territory alone, not even Hu Mainyang. Chen Hua and Chen Yen were extremely talented. Today, after 10,000 years, they had grown to the same realm as Chen Shui and the others. Moreover, their strength was not weak. Boss will definitely come back. Our Proud Heavens Association is getting stronger and stronger, and we're gathering more and more faith. Senior Yi already said that the faith we gathered is all gone. Naturally, it's connected to the 9 heavens and 10 lands and was accepted by Boss. So, we'd better focus on improving ourselves. When we step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, if Boss doesn't come back, it'll be the time for us to set out together to find Boss. Du Jing was also in a bad mood, but he knew he could no longer keep silent. In the 10-direction territory, there were countless Daluo Golden Wonderland geniuses from the 10 major galaxies, as well as old guys who had been there for tens of thousands of years and specialized in cannibalism. Even if their team was strong, it was still very dangerous. There's a 5th update. Please vote. Thank you. Chapter 954. That's right. Sisters-in-law, brothers and sisters, there's no need to think too much. To tell you the truth, I've been having a strong intuition lately, so I've been divining. Lan Feng suddenly said. What intuition? What are you divining? Everyone looked over at Lan Feng, including some of the golden immortal geniuses who had never seen Chen Hao before, but who had become core generals of Proud Heaven, all looked over at him. In the 10,000 years that had passed, Lan Feng had become famous in the Proud Heavens Society as the Son of Destiny. His destiny was the envy of many, and no one could compare to him. Of course, that was all because of his terrifying intuition. In fact, Lan Feng's intuition was like Chen Hao's fiery eyes of truth. It was an innate ability. And now, he had used this innate ability to practice the art of divination. His progress was astonishing. Every time I recited the scriptures and prayed for Boss, I felt like he was watching us. When I prayed before we came, I had a strong feeling that Boss was coming back. So I divined that perhaps after we stepped into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, Boss would return in a way that would shock the entire vast universe galaxy. I divined and saw it. It's in the near future. I can't see the exact time, but it won't be more than 50,000 years. 50,000 years is nothing to us. 1,000 years can pass in the blink of an eye. At that time, whether or not all of us will be able to step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm will be a problem. Are you serious, Lan Feng? Of course it's true. Brother Pan, don't you have faith in my character and integrity? My great divination art has reached an advanced level, and it'll be even more accurate if I improve further. Now let's focus on improving our strength. Otherwise, when Boss comes back, we won't even be worthy of carrying his shoes. That would be embarrassing. Whether your divination is true or not, now is not the time for us to be distracted. There are more than 100 of us here, and we didn't hide the news before coming. I'm sure the 10 major galaxies already know that we've entered the 10 directions territory. It's inevitable that many people will come specifically for us, Hu Mainyang said after looking at Lan Feng for a few seconds. This made Lan Feng sweat profusely. He naturally knew that he couldn't hide it from Hu Mainyang, who had already broken through to the 10th stage of the Red Dust Heart Sutra. However, he wasn't completely lying to everyone, at least some of it was true, not bad. This is exactly what we want. Proud Heaven's name will rise from this day forth in the 10 directions domain. Du Jing said, trying to boost morale. All right, there's no need to comfort us. We know what to do. Let's disperse for the time being and stay in the vicinity. If anything happens, contact me at any time. Chen Shui said. Good. Let's disperse here. Brother Pan, don't lose to me in the comprehension of Hongmeng Qi, Du Jing said with a faint smile. After he finished speaking, he turned into a ray of light, chose a direction, and quickly flew away. You? In your dreams, Coiling Dragon said disdainfully. He collected himself and left quickly. When Chen Shui saw that the girl still didn't move, even though she wasn't in a good mood, she still directly blended into the universe and left first 10,000 years. How long would it be for a man and a woman who were passionately in love, who hadn't even started their true life as Tao companions? Unfortunately, they couldn't cut off their thoughts like Chen Hao and seal them. Unless it was to erase their memories, but they would never do that. It was a very simple thing for a freak like Chen Hao, but it wasn't something that others in the same realm could do. Chen Hao, who was still in the process of reconstructing his physical body, naturally didn't know the situation of the women and brothers and sisters in the Endless Star River. He also didn't know that the space-time law of the Star River in the chaotic universe was very different from the Star River in the ancient chaos universe. From the battle with Xiao Yan until now, it had only been less than 1,000 years, but 10,000 years had passed in the vast universe galaxy. Fortunately, his relatives and friends were not ordinary people. Otherwise, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, no one knew how many times they would have died in the 6 paths of reincarnation. Half a month later, in the palace of the 5th Grand Elder. It's formed. It's really fast. Even the reconstruction of the golden body is not so fast. Tian Wanxiang looked at the gradually clear human figure, rubbed his hands and said excitedly. But suddenly, he made a strange sound of surprise. What's wrong? The 5th Grand Elder frowned. 5th Grand Elder, look carefully. The nose that pops out has already formed. It seems a little wrong. Hearing Tian Wanxiang's words, the 5th Grand Elder was slightly stunned. He really didn't pay attention to the appearance. Looking carefully, the nose had indeed become much higher than the original slightly flat nose of Li Mubai. There's nothing strange. After the mutation of the bloodline origin, it's not strange that his appearance has changed, as long as he doesn't become a woman. I don't have the habit of accepting female disciples. Haha, that's true. I do want to accept female disciples, but unfortunately, the talented female disciples don't follow me. Little Tian, you're an elder. Don't tell me you still have other thoughts. I didn't before, but now I do. In my Tian family, my elder brother's bloodline has already withered to the point that there's no one left. But Mubai's bloodline origin actually hides such an amazing physique. Maybe. If I die and reproduce a few generations, maybe there'll be another Mubai. Then I'll be satisfied. You. The fifth Grand Elder was completely defeated by Tian Wanxiang. Another 3 days later, Chen Hao's body finally formed completely. What made the fifth Grand Elder and Tian Wanxiang shocked and happy was that this body was simply the most perfect one they had ever seen. There wasn't a trace of flaw on the whole body. The body was slender, the lines were well-proportioned and beautiful, the key parts were quite masculine, and the appearance was a rare handsome man. The most important thing was that the bloodline qi contained in this body was really majestic to an amazing degree. Compared to this, Li Mubai's body was simply trash. What a disaster. Fifth Grand Elder, this guy's change is too amazing, isn't it? We're both men, but it makes me envious. In addition, with Mubai's current talent, isn't he a female killer? Master, what do you mean? Right at this moment, Chen Hao scoffed as he suddenly stood up, and he looked at Tian Wanxiang with a puzzled expression as he asked. Obviously, his primordial spirit and body had been completely integrated, without the slightest barrier, and there was no need for time to adapt. Look at yourself, Qi. Tian Wanxiang directly sent out a stream of energy, which condensed into a mirror. When Chen Hao saw this, he immediately let out a cry of surprise. This is me? Ha ha. Disciple, quickly put on your clothes. Your current appearance is quite similar to your master's demeanor in the past. Very good, very good. The fifth Grand Elder looked at Chen Hao's dark and deep eyes, which were as bright as stars, and was very satisfied. Just this appearance alone could be called a dragon or phoenix among men. Chapter 955. The fifth Elder's words made Tian Wanxiang's old face twitch. This was obviously his style back then, okay? In any case, there was a bit of bloodline inheritance between them. His. Phew, so comfortable. With a flash between his eyebrows, Chen Hao took out Li Mubai's robe and put it on. Feeling the comfortable feeling that came from his original body that was completely compatible with his soul, he could not help but say. Then he frowned slightly and said, Fifth. Master, what's going on with me? I feel that my physical body is unprecedentedly strong. My true essence, qi, and spirit have more than doubled. Now my battle strength may increase by several times. That's only natural. This is the evolution of your bloodline source. It's a true rebirth, a cleansing of your meridians and marrow. Your physical body is much stronger than before, and this is only in the state of rebirth. After you temper yourself for a period of time, you'll become even stronger. Before, your soul and comprehension were far superior to your physical body. They were restricted and limited your progress. Now, your physical body has evolved to the point where it is perfectly compatible with your soul. In a short period of time, your strength will increase greatly. Oh, thank you, Master. What are you thanking me for? This is all because of your own body. Go to my mental world and choose a set of soft armor and a few weapons. I will use my mind to help you familiarize yourself with your current strength. Tomorrow, I will officially accept you as my disciple. Well, Tian Xiang, you should also help Mubai familiarize himself with his strength. Yes, fifth elder, Tian Wanxiang said with a slightly excited expression. The fifth elder did not call him Shao Tian this time. Obviously, he had officially recognized his existence. This was completely due to his disciple's glory. Moreover, the fifth elder allowed him to enter his mental world. Naturally, it was not as simple as helping Li Mubai familiarize himself with his strength. A hole opened between the fifth Grand Elder's eyebrows. Chun Hao and Tian Wanxiang immediately turned into two streams of light and entered the fifth Grand Elder's mind world. No way? So many. Chun Hao and Tian Wanxiang directly appeared in a palace in the fifth Grand Elder's mind. What entered his eyes was a dazzling array of magic treasures. Any one of them was at the level of a divine tool. Sabers, spears, swords, staffs, gourds, pagoda tablets, silk nets, bells, drums, soft armor, gloves, whips, and other divine magic treasures overflowed with light as they floated quietly in the palace. Even Chun Hao, who possessed a large treasury, could not help but sigh at the powerful foundation of a true immortal expert. Without a doubt, this was only the warehouse of divine magic treasures for him to choose from. It was probably only the tip of the iceberg of the fifth Grand Elder's collection. On the other hand, Tian Wanxiang's eyes widened in shock. This guy was a peak expert in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. These sacred artifacts, even if they were supreme-grade sacred artifacts, were not very attractive to him. However, the number of sacred artifacts made him envious. Tian Wanxiang said, "Disciple, you have to choose carefully. There are many superior sacred artifacts here. They will be very important before you reach the middle stage of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm." "Yes, Master. There's no need. You just need to choose the most suitable for your current use. You can come in and exchange for Master's things at any time. This was originally prepared for you. When you advance to the Hongmeng realm, it will be easy for Master to get some pseudo-immortal artifacts from you. Of course, don't be fooled by the magic treasures. Your own cultivation is the most important at all times." At this moment, the fifth Grand Elder, who was manifested by his divine sense, also appeared beside the two of them and said, "Yes, Master. In the future, call me Master. Call Tian Xiang Master," the fifth Grand Elder said with a slight smile. He had snatched Tian Wanxiang's disciple. This was something that could not be changed no matter what. Moreover, he could also see that Tian Wanxiang and Li Mubai had a very good master-disciple relationship. They could even be considered to have a little bloodline inheritance. Therefore, he could not treat Tian Wanxiang unfairly. In fact, it was almost the same as taking in two disciples. However, Tian Wanxiang could only give a few pointers as a junior. "Yes, Master." Chun Hao responded respectfully. After he finished speaking, his eyes flickered, and he quickly walked toward a golden spear that was emitting a strong murderous aura. The fifth Grand Elder did not think much of it. However, Tian Wanxiang was slightly surprised. Li Mubai mainly cultivated the law of magical powers. He was not interested in weapons. The only thing he was best at was swords. Moreover, he did not like magic treasures with a strong murderous aura. However, at this moment, Chun Hao's gaze was directed at the long spear that was blooming with a strong murderous aura. That's true. Previously, this kid was limited by his own strength and did not like weapons with a strong murderous aura. Now that he has been reborn and has the support of the fifth Grand Elder, he has to be more high-profile. Tian Wanxiang thought in his heart. Immediately, he carefully sized up the golden spear. The spear was 2.6 meters long and was completely golden. However, the spearhead was surging with a strong blood aura. The spear's soul was like a bloodthirsty monster, circulating in the golden light. The tip of the spear was blood-red, emitting a cold light in all directions. The surrounding magic treasures emitted a treasure aura that seemed to automatically avoid the spear aura. It was quite a domineering king's aura. This golden spear is called the Overlord Spear. I obtained it in an ancient ruin. The spear's soul is extremely domineering and has not been destroyed for hundreds of millions of years. I don't know how many massacres it has experienced to give birth to such a murderous spear soul. If it recognizes you as its master, you can obtain the Overlord Spear technique contained in it. When combined with the spear itself, the power will increase by more than 30%. Why, have you taken a fancy to this spear? Yes, master. Disciple lacked sharpness before. Now that master has enlightened me, my body and soul have improved. The aura of this spear is exactly what disciple needs. Oh? Then you can give it a try. Subdue it first and then recognize it as its master. The fifth Grand Elder said. A divine weapon with a weapon soul, if it was an ownerless item, could be refined with a drop of blood, and it would recognize its master and be used. However, if one wanted to use it before it recognized its master, it would not be so simple. One could only rely on one's own will and strength to subdue the weapon soul and activate it. After subduing it and recognizing it as its master, the compatibility between the divine weapon and its master would be much stronger than directly refining it with a drop of blood. Good. Chi. A violent and fierce aura suddenly gushed out from between Chern Hao's brows. His essence, energy, spirit, true essence, fleshly body, pressure, and will pressed down towards the Overlord's spear that was floating in the air. Boom! At this moment, the Overlord's spear suddenly released a strong killing intent. A blood-red spear light surged out, trying to resist Chern Hao's control. What a powerful spear soul! At this time, Tian Wanxiang was surprised. Even he did not expect that the spear soul could burst out with such a powerful killing intent. In an instant, he seemed to see countless spear lights piercing towards Chern Hao. The fifth Grand Elder also looked at it with bright eyes. He was very clear about this Overlord spear. When he tamed it and brought it back, it took him a lot of effort. If he wanted to tame it, he had to stimulate a killing intent that was not inferior to the Overlord's spear, or an indestructible will. Besides these 2 points, true essence and soul force were useless. He was looking forward to how long it would take for his new disciple to subdue it. Today is still the same. Looking for monthly votes. We are moving forward. Brothers and sisters, can you put in more effort? Thank you. Chapter 956. What a strong will to massacre! After a short contact, Chern Hao thought to himself in surprise and excitement. The reason why he took a fancy to this Overlord spear was because of the strong murderous aura it emitted. Although the sky-stealing sunswapping had succeeded, he still needed to change Tian Wanxiang and the fifth Grand Elder's perception of him bit by bit through various methods if he wanted to truly display his true strength without restraint. He could not display it too suddenly or too exaggeratedly. Moreover, more importantly, the real aura of his original body was only at the early stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland. The aura he released now was completely fused with Li Mubai's soul origin. If he was not careful, it would collapse. In the entire world of cultivation, it was inevitable to increase one's realm. If one's realm regressed, it would be abnormal. The key was that it was even more impossible to increase one's strength while regressing. If Chern Hao was unable to fully display the power of his original body, it was basically impossible for him to increase his own realm. This was also what Chern Hao needed to do first. Compared to when I was in the heavenly immortal stage, he is much stronger. How much killing did he have to go through to refine the spear soul to such a level? Chern Hao became more and more excited. He really wanted to try if his current will to massacre could suppress it, but unfortunately, the previous Li Mubai was a coward who bullied the weak and feared the strong. It was impossible for him to have such a strong will to massacre. Therefore, Chern Hao could only use his indestructible will of soul to resist the will to massacre, step by step, and subdue it. Understanding this point, Chern Hao immediately retracted his true essence and spirit. Only the space between his eyebrows shone brightly as he steadily approached the Overlord's spear. At the same time, he also changed the expression on his face appropriately. He did not appear too relaxed or too difficult. In one breath, he resisted the terrifying murderous aura and walked to the side of the Overlord's spear. The moment Chern Hao stretched out his hand to grab the spear, The spearhead suddenly exploded with a bang, releasing a sound that sounded like the wailing of ghosts and howling of wolves. At this moment, Chen Hao seemed to see the scene of corpses strewn all over the ground and blood flowing like a river. Even his mind was slightly shaken. Chen Hao naturally could easily break through it, but he didn't do so. Instead, he chose to temporarily merge with it. His eyes also became dull in an instant, as if he was attracted by the killing intent that bloomed. Just as the fifth Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang held his breath and waited for a few seconds, Chen Hao let out a cold snort. The space between his eyebrows and both of his eyes blossomed with a resplendent light at the same time, and his eyes regained their clarity. At this moment, all of the phenomena released by the Overlord's spear disappeared, and it was obediently held in Chen Hao's hands. Chen Hao thrust out his spear lightly. The spear light flickered, and a blood-red waterfall exploded in front of Xiao Chen's eyes. Good spear! Chen Hao exclaimed excitedly. On the other hand, the fifth Grand Elder was slightly stunned. It was done so easily? The corner of his mouth twitched, and he resisted the urge to show it. Not bad, it seems like this Overlord spear is quite suitable for you. Recognize it as your master. Once you obtain the Overlord spear arts contained within, you will be like a tiger that has grown wings. Master, there's no rush. I'll pick another sword and a pair of gloves. You brat. Alright, up to you. Fifth Grand Elder, is it because Mubai's willpower is too strong, or is this Overlord spear just terrifying on the surface, but ordinary in reality? When Chen Hao walked towards a treasured sword, Tian Wanxiang asked through sound transmission. He had not personally tried it, so he naturally did not know the true situation of the Overlord spear. He always felt that the process of his disciples' subduing was a little too easy. When I obtained it back then, I was also at the peak of the late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, and the process of subduing it took me a full hour. What do you think of it? Mubai, it's lucky that I met this brat. Otherwise, he would have been buried by you. Cough cough. That's right, that's right. Tian Wanxiang was shocked. He awkwardly avoided the fifth Grand Elder's intimidating gaze and looked at his precious disciple again. Damn, when the fifth Grand Elder was at the same level, he took an hour, but this brat only took a few minutes. What kind of concept was this? The fifth Grand Elder was a super genius who had advanced to the Cutting Dao True Immortal level. Even among the Cutting Dao True Immortals, he was an extremely powerful existence. How strong was his talent back then? However, his disciple, who was still an ordinary mess more than 100 years ago, had actually displayed willpower that surpassed that of the fifth Grand Elder back then. Tian Wanxiang could not help but be shocked and ashamed at the same time. Indeed, without the fifth Grand Elder, Li Mubai might still be immersed in a muddle-headed state and would not be ranked at all in the Hunyuan sect. Chen Hao quickly chose a supreme-grade sacred artifact sword and a pair of scarlet gloves that radiated cold light. Its aura was very similar to that of the Overlord spear, and it also contained a weapon soul. However, it was not very powerful, and Chen Hao easily subdued it. Choose another set of soft armor, the fifth Grand Elder said. Master, I don't need the soft armor. My physical body has been recondensed and needs to be tempered. Moreover, I have such a powerful bloodline mutation, so I don't have to worry about anything. Haha, well said. However, I don't want you to use it now. I just want you to refine it in advance. My expectations for you now are not limited to the secret realm and the grotto heaven. In the secret realm and the grotto heaven, as long as you can advance to the peak of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, you will obtain 20 places to directly enter the Holy Land of the Immortal Sutra. I want you to enter the Holy Land of the Immortal Sutra. At that time, you will face the top geniuses of the entire chaotic universe, the fifth Grand Elder said with an impassioned look. Before Li Mubai's physical body was destroyed, This was something that he had never even thought about. His greatest wish was for Li Mubai to be able to improve greatly in the secret realm and advance to the full circle realm. Moreover, he would also be able to obtain the qualifications of the 20 people promised by the sect master. At that time, it would be an eye-opener in the final competition. But now, he didn't think so. Although the hope was still not great, after all, Li Mubai awakened too late, and there was not much time left. It was definitely not an eye-opener. Maybe there was hope. Yes, master. I will do my best. Chen Hao was practicing with Tian Wanxiang and the 5th Grand Elder's mind incarnation. When he was practicing wholeheartedly in the 5th Grand Elder's mind world, the 30 places of the Hunyuan sect's secret realm and the Grotto Heaven were also announced. Chen Hao was on the list, and he was ranked 27th. Such a result made many people stare blankly. But the 5th Grand Elder was disdainful. 27? Not to mention a few months later when the secret realm and Grotto Heaven opened. Even now, Chen Hao's combat power could be ranked in the top 3 or 4 places, and this was a conservative estimate. Of course, the 5th Grand Elder naturally wouldn't show it. He was looking forward to his disciple, once again, to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Entered. Ha 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 ha. I Zhang Chong entered. 30th place, ha ha. In front of the name list on the pagoda stele, the nervous Zhang Chong saw that his name was at the bottom of the list. He began to laugh wildly in excitement. In the past month, he had been crazily challenging people. Finally, there was an effect. Wushan continues to write, the outbreak continues, looking for monthly votes. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. We are moving forward. Chapter 957. Li Mubai is ranked 27th. This is a comprehensive ranking, not just based on combat strength. Li Mubai has improved so much in just a few hundred years. The last time he fought with Zhang Chong, he even triggered the 9 restrictions, so it's normal for him to be ranked 27th. But his physical body is very weak and has already collapsed. Even if the 5th Grand Elder helped him reconstruct his golden body, it will become a factor that restricts him when he reaches the Hongmeng realm. Well, the 5th Grand Elder is not our teacher, but a top expert among the cutting Dao perfected immortals. He definitely has a way to improve his compatibility with his physical body. Zhang Chong was selected this time, but not the next time. But Li Mubai, unless he breaks through to the Hongmeng realm, he will definitely dominate for 1,000 years. After all, with his combat strength, it is impossible for him to qualify for the Holy Land of the Immortals Scripture within 1,000 years. When he qualifies for the Holy Land of the Immortals Scripture, as long as he can comprehend a little, he will not be excluded. Our Hunyuan sect will basically become the 21 sects occupying the secret Grotto Heaven for a long time, unless they don't want to enter. The Holy Land of the Immortals Scripture opened once every 10 years, and 1,000 people could enter each time. This was for Daluo Jinxian in the entire vast 1,000 chaotic world. It was definitely an extremely low ratio of 1 in 100 million. If it was just this, it would be fine. Every time 1,000 people entered, at least 900 of them were old fellows who had entered before, or even several times. Every 10 years, as long as you obtained the qualification with your own strength, you could enter. Of course, if the cultivators who entered did not have any comprehension of the immortal scripture, they would be directly excluded from the sect and would not be qualified to enter in the future. But as long as they had a little comprehension, they could participate in the competition. It was also because of the existence of this rule that very little new blood entered the Holy Land of the Immortals Scripture every 10 years. In the entire vast 1,000 chaotic world, the only cultivators who could enter in their lifetime were the top geniuses of the generation. The Hunyuan sect's secret Grotto Heaven was originally established for the Holy Land of the Immortals Scripture, so the model was naturally the same. The reason why the top 20 were said to be unshakable was because 20 of them had entered the secret realm at least twice. The top 5 had even entered the sacred land of the immortal scripture. Who could shake it? Because of this, only a few newcomers, such as Li Mubai and Zhang Chong, received the most attention. A few months after the announcement of the name list, although it was much quieter than the previous month, it did not quiet down. Zhang Chong and a few disciples who were lucky enough to get 30 places received several challenges one after another. It was no less than the situation when people wanted to force Chen Hao to voluntarily give up his place. However, no one challenged Li Mubai this time. Li Mubai hadn't relied on his battle prowess. This had been publicly acknowledged after he triggered the 9 restrictions. Challenging him, even if he could win, would be meaningless. Half a year's time had finally passed. On this day, in the deepest part of the Daluo Jingxian Palace district, there was a sea of people. This was the day when the secret realm's grotto heaven would open. The 30 people inside would come out, and Chen Hao and the other 30 people would enter. Of the 30 people who came out, 20 would directly rush to the sacred land of the Immortals' scripture to prepare to participate in the final competition of the sacred land of the Immortals' scripture. The other 10 people would have to register themselves and go through layers of selection. Of the 30 people who came out and the 30 who were going in, close to 50 of them would dominate the secret realm's grotto heaven for a long time. They could also be said to be the top 50 people in the Hunyuan sect. Disciple, the time has come. Today is the day you enter the secret realm's grotto heaven. For the time being, put aside the unique skills I taught you. After you enter the secret realm's heavenly access, concentrate on comprehending the Tao marks in it. Strive to obtain a place in the final competition of the sacred land of the Immortals' scripture with your strength, not the sect leader's promise. Yes, Master. Qi. With a flash of light, Chen Hao, dressed in a blue robe, stepped out of the 5th Grand Elder's mind for the first time after cultivating in seclusion for a few months. His tall and slender figure and handsome appearance made him look otherworldly. The cold light that flashed in his eyes inadvertently contained a soul-stirring power. Less than half a year's time was just the snap of a finger for the masters of the Daluo Golden Wonderland. However, the present Li Mubai was completely different from the Li Mubai of half a year ago. Let's go, Master will take you there, the 5th Grand Elder said with a gratified expression. Master, I can go there myself. How can that be? With your current appearance and aura, no one will believe that you are Li Mubai. You will definitely be caught. Ha ha. That's true. Chen Hao smiled. The next moment, the 5th Grand Elder and Chen Hao appeared on the towering mountain where the secret realm's grotto heaven was located. Greetings, 5th Grand Elder. Immediately, the 10 elders in charge of the secret realm's grotto heaven cupped their fists and bowed. They were all surprised. Who was this young man that the 5th Grand Elder had brought? At the same time, the appearance of the 5th Grand Elder attracted the attention of the cultivators who had been watching the show. They all bowed and stared curiously at Chen Hao. No need to be so polite, I'm just escorting Mubai here. Disciple Li Mubai greets the 5th Grand Elder. Chen Hao hurriedly bowed to the 5th Grand Elder. The 5th Grand Elder represented the Hunyuan sect in charge of the secret realm's grotto heaven. They were extremely senior and belonged to the top elders of the Hunyuan sect who had retired behind the scenes. Apart from the secret realm's grotto heaven, they no longer cared about the sect's affairs. Crash, ah? No way, Chen Hao's words undoubtedly revealed his identity. This was great, it directly caused a huge uproar. No one would have thought that the young man in front of them was Li Mubai. When the golden body was reconstructed, there was a possibility that one's appearance and aura would change, but it would not change too much. But now, was this still the Li Mubai of the past? He was a completely different person. This was absolutely inconceivable. It also caused everyone, including the 5 elders, to be shocked. Just what kind of powerful bloodline origin did the fifth Grand Elder use to change Li Mubai so thoroughly that not even the slightest shadow of his previous self could be found? The fifth Grand Elder is really resourceful. Incredible, incredible, you flatter me. The fifth Grand Elder smiled slightly. After that, he looked at the secret realm's grotto heaven's entrance and the figure sitting cross-legged like a statue. Although the other party seemed to be in meditation and did not move at all, what surprised Chen Hao was that the fifth Grand Elder actually cupped his fists and nodded slightly to him before disappearing in front of the crowd. In Li Mubai's memory, the fifth Grand Elder did not belong to the Hunyuan sect, and no one knew what his cultivation level was. They only knew that the fifth Grand Elder represented the sacred land of the immortal scriptures. Every time the Hunyuan sect's secret realm's grotto heaven opened, he would come and directly choose 10 out of the 30 people who would come out of the secret realm's grotto heaven to qualify for the final competition. The other 10 would be chosen by the fifth Grand Elder of the Hunyuan sect. After that, he would leave with the other 20 people. Previously, the fifth Grand Elder had asked Chen how to fight for a spot in the final competition with his own strength. In reality, it was to let Chen Hao be chosen by the fifth Grand Elder and not be chosen by the fifth Grand Elder of the Hunyuan sect. Wu Shan will continue to write. If you still have monthly votes, please vote for Wu Shan. Thank you. Chapter 958. Is this really Li Mubai? Many pairs of eyes fell on Li Mubai, filled with disbelief and surprise. At this moment, Li Mubai, whether it was the aura emitted from his body or his handsome and elegant appearance, was an eye-catching existence. His handsome face, eyes that were as bright as the stars, tall and slender body, and his boundless vitality and essence, energy and spirit were all astonishing. Some young cultivators, who had always been conceited about their handsome appearances, looked at Chen Hao with eyes full of jealousy. The eyes of the female cultivators became much brighter. Mubai Qi, a figure, after hesitating for a long time, finally summoned the courage to fly to Chen Hao's side. Her eyes flickered, and her expression was a little excited and nervous. Congratulations! You have obtained the qualification to enter the secret zone. Thank you. Chen Hao frowned slightly and said lightly. This was a cultivator at the peak of the late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland, who could be called a beauty. Li Mubai had a deep impression of her. Li Mubai had pursued her for a long time, but there was no progress. In the end, he was humiliated and completely gave up. In the past, the previous Li Mubai is already dead. Sorry. Chen Hao's expression was indifferent. Although it was not cold, it contained a coldness that kept people 1,000 miles away. What kind of joke was this? Not to mention that he was the fake Li Mubai. Even if it was the real Li Mubai, with his current progress, he would not hesitate to slap the face back. The girl's face was red, and she wished she could find a hole to hide in. She had summoned all her courage to come here at this time. Although she did not expect to be able to redeem herself, she was still confident that Li Mubai still liked her. After all, this guy had pursued her for more than 1,000 years. But she did not expect that she would be directly interrupted by the other party before she could even finish her opening remarks. I'm sorry. The girl lowered her head and said in a low voice. Her heart was filled with anger and bitterness. Who would have thought that someone similar to him would become a top genius disciple of the Hunyuan sect in just a few hundred years? If she had foresight, she would have hugged his legs and refused to let go. Unfortunately, she didn't. Amidst the buzzing of the crowd, the girl's face was burning. Under the gazes of countless people, she hurriedly left. She knew that she had lost all her face today. Li Mubai. What Chen Hao didn't expect was that just as he helped Li Mubai vent his anger, a cold voice sounded out again. It was Zhang Chong. I will challenge you again. You're welcome anytime. I hope the mystic realm will come out. Oh no, I mean the end of the Immortal Sutra Sacred Land. You still have the courage to say this. Chern Hao still had a faint smile on his face as he spoke with an indifferent and arrogant expression. You despicable man. You must have obtained some powerful opportunity. I'd like to see how long you can maintain this speed of improvement. You really think you're a top genius? Just you wait. Zhang Chong almost choked to death. He was filled with anger towards Li Mubai. He really didn't expect that Li Mubai, who had turned over a new leaf, would become so arrogant and show off his ability. In fact, not only Zhang Chong, but countless cultivators present felt that the current Li Mubai, whether it was his expression, tone, or words, were too arrogant. In their eyes, Li Mubai was like an upstart who had gotten lucky. If he kept a low profile, perhaps everyone would be able to accept it and praise his good luck. But he actually thought of himself as a monstrous genius. What was there to be arrogant about? I'll wait. Chern Hao ignored everyone's gazes. It's noon. Open. Chi 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 chi. At this moment, the 5 old antique elders suddenly shouted softly. At the same time, they raised a token engraved with mysterious runes. As soon as the 5 tokens appeared, they rose into the void and bloomed with brilliant light. It was as if a space-time door had opened and was directly connected to the sealed entrance of the secret realm. Soon after, a rumbling sound could be heard. Qi, a strong and pure wave of spiritual qi, burst out from the cave. 30 figures sitting with their legs crossed opened their eyes as if they had been teleported out from the cave. In an instant, the area within a radius of 10,000 miles was enveloped by 30 powerful auras. What a strong guy! Even Chern Hao was shocked. Among the 30 people, at least 5 of them gave Chern Hao a strong sense of danger. He was certain that it was not something he could contend against at the moment. Chi 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 chi. At this moment, beams of flowing light suddenly streaked across the void. 20 figures with equally powerful auras arrived at lightning speed. These 20 figures were the old men, who were going to enter the secret realm with Chern Hao, Zhang Chong, and the rest of the 10 people. 20 gazes paused on Chern Hao's body for a moment, seemingly intentionally or unintentionally. Phew! You sex! At this moment, the old man who looked like a statue suddenly stretched his back, shook his messy head, and said something inexplicable. Saint Envoy, 30 people have come out of seclusion. Please take a look and choose. How many times? More than 10 times? Oh, this is the 38th time? The old man's gaze fell on the 30 cultivators who had just come out. At the same time, a mysterious aura enveloped the 30 people. He shook his head like a rattled drum, looked at them again, and finally pointed at them. You, and you. It's the 10 of you. The disciples who were pointed at immediately looked excited, especially one of the newcomers, who had thought that there was no hope at all. He was even more excited. The young man with the strongest aura, who had been pointed out by the old man as the 38th time, was not chosen by the old man. He looked a little embarrassed. Although he knew that the 5 elders of the sect would definitely choose him, it was still a very shameful thing. Although you are very strong, it's the 38th time. The amount of comprehension you have gained is really very little. Even if you can participate this time, the old man suggests that you break through when it's time to do so. The 3 great immortal sutras are not necessarily something that can be comprehended with high comprehension and strength. It also depends on fate. The old man looked at the embarrassed young man and said, intentionally or unintentionally, "Yes, senior." "All right, you can choose 10, the old man said to the 5 elders. Soon, the 10 people were chosen by the 5 elders. The person with the strongest aura was naturally among them. In fact, this was also for the sake of the sect's reputation. Among the 20 people, there were at most 3 or 4 people in the Hunyuan sect who could really enter the Immortal Sutra land, and they were basically all old men. Even if they knew that very little of them had comprehended the Immortal Sutra, they still had to let them qualify. Otherwise, it would be good enough if even one person from the Hunyuan sect could enter. If that really happened, the Hunyuan sect, as one of the top sects, would be too embarrassing. Fourth update: Wushan will continue to write. It might be late. If you have votes, please vote for Wushan. Thank you. Chapter 959. Buzz. The old man waved his hand casually, and a spatial door was formed without any energy ripples. Immediately, the old man and the 20 top geniuses who had obtained the qualification to compete in the final round disappeared from everyone's sight. Although Li Mubai had seen it many times, Chun Hao was still shocked when he saw it with his own eyes. What kind of cultivation was required to do that? No wonder the fifth Grand Elder, Master, bowed to him. The Saint Envoy, the envoy of the sacred ground of the Immortal Sutra, is so powerful. How powerful is the person who controls it? Chun Hao could not imagine. Humph, even if I'm not chosen, I'll fight my way to the sacred ground of the Immortal Sutra with my own strength. Yes, let's go and register together. Buzz, 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 buzz. The remaining 10 people gathered their emotions and quickly disappeared from everyone's sight with a strong fighting spirit. Now, the 30 disciples who have obtained the right to enter the secret grotto heaven, please enter immediately for 10 years. I hope you will try your best to comprehend it. No one is allowed to fight or disturb other people's cultivation. Violators will be expelled from the grotto heaven and will never be allowed to enter again. Yes. Buzz, 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 buzz. Streams of light streaked past as the 30 people impatiently rushed in. Even Chun Hao was no exception. The secret grotto heaven was engraved with the comprehension of the 3 great immortal sutras of the Hunyuan sect. What kind of existence was it? Chun Hao was looking forward to it. Buzz. The moment he passed through the entrance, Chun Hao clearly felt a strong aura of the law of spacetime. Then, he appeared in a huge space with no end in sight. It condensed into a void, and there were many pagoda steels. From the surroundings to the core, the small pagoda steels became bigger, but even the smallest one was like a towering mountain. Even with Chun Hao's powerful soul perception, it was blocked by the mysterious pressure released by the pagoda steels and could not penetrate. What a terrifying pressure! What pure spiritual chi of heaven and earth! Chun Hao's face shone with strong shock and excitement. This was something that Li Mubai could not come into contact with before. It was also a sacred ground that 99% of the disciples in the Hunyuan sect could not come into contact with. Bang! Bang bang! This pressure is actually so terrifying? At this moment, what made Chun Hao slightly surprised was that among the disciples who had entered with him, Zhang Chong and the other 3 newcomers, who had entered for the first time, were caught off guard and were actually bound by the terrifying pressure and directly fell to the ground. At this time, most of the old people who came in looked at Chun Hao with slight surprise. It wasn't strange for him to fall to the ground during his first time in a grotto heaven. It would be strange if he didn't fall to the ground. There's nothing strange about it. He's the direct disciple of the 5th Grand Elder. He's the successor of the 5th Grand Elder's legacy. Naturally, he would have received guidance from the 5th Grand Elder before coming here. However, this Li Mubai has indeed been reborn. He's not much worse than us now. Farewell, see you in 10 years. A young man with a powerful aura noticed that everyone was looking at Chun Hao in surprise. He said lightly and proudly. After that, he quickly flew into the depths of the secret realm. That's true. Everyone, goodbye. Chi. Immediately, more than 10 people quickly left. These people were all extremely arrogant, like proud peacocks. Even though Chun Hao and the other newcomers were present, they ignored them and talked among themselves. They didn't have the slightest intention of making friends with them. However, there was a young woman who saw Chun Hao looking at them. She nodded slightly at Chun Hao but didn't say anything more and flashed away. Humph, isn't it just a reminder from a genuine, immortal master? What's so great about that? Zhang Chong thought disdainfully and quickly approached the pagoda monument. The others didn't dare to delay and gathered their energy to resist the pressure of the pagoda monument's Tao mark. They excitedly left. One of the young women also nodded slightly at him. It had to be said that once this guy regained his original appearance and aura, he was terrifyingly popular with women. This wasn't just because he was too handsome and talented. More importantly, it was because of his legendary luck with women. Unfortunately, Chun Hao didn't have any feelings for women at this moment. After crossing the sea, water couldn't be considered water. Apart from Mount Wu, clouds couldn't be considered clouds. When he cut off his love and sealed it, he also sealed all his love with extreme sincerity. He threw away all his desires and pursued the peak of martial arts, returning to the ancient chaotic universe. Chi. Taking a deep breath, Chun Hao abruptly gathered his spirit, soul, and soul perception to the peak in an instant. 10 years. With the support of the space-time law, he would cultivate here for 1,000 years. 1,000 years. No matter how confident Chun Hao was, he knew that it was far from enough to comprehend the Tao mark of the Immortal Sutra that all the cultivators in the ancient chaotic universe scrambled for. Even if this wasn't the real Immortal Sutra and was just a Tao mark left by the sex experts based on their own comprehension, it was still not that simple. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many top geniuses who entered again and again. Especially that guy who just went out. He actually entered 38 times. The more central the pagoda monument is, the more powerful the Tao mark is, and the more profound the Immortal Sutra's mysteries it contains. However, since these outermost pagoda monuments exist, there must be a reason for their existence. 1,000 people's 1,000 solutions are all different. I'll start from the simple ones. Chun Hao looked at the other people, including Zhang Chong and the other newcomers, who all arrogantly jumped over the outermost pagoda monuments. He seemed to be deep in thought. In the end, he didn't listen to the fifth Supreme Elder's suggestion to choose a pagoda monument with an appropriate pressure. Instead, he started from the simplest one. He should at least understand it first before making a decision. I'll go deeper. I definitely can't lose to Li Mubai. What was different from Chun Hao was that when Zhang Chong reached his limit, he still gritted his teeth and went deeper into the pagoda monument. This was definitely the time to test one's cultivation. In fact, in everyone's opinion, when they reached their limit, they could sharpen their willpower and stimulate their soul's potential. They could also comprehend more powerful Tao marks, so the deeper they went, the better. The other newcomers also had the same mindset of competing with each other. Especially when they saw that the 20 experts who had entered this place many times had already disappeared into the depths, they gritted their teeth and tried their best to get closer. At least the gap couldn't be too big. Damn, so he stopped long ago? Humph, as expected, he received the fifth Supreme Elder's reminder, but he shouldn't be so weak. I've already reached the 4th level. He should at least be able to reach the 3rd level, right? When Zhang Chong reached the 4th level with great difficulty, he finally stopped. If he continued to advance, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to split his attention to comprehend the mysteries of the pagoda monuments. At this time, what made him surprised was that Li Mubai actually stopped in front of the outermost pagoda monument and entered a state of comprehension. Chapter 960. The Earth Desolation of the Immortal Sutra. Yang Lu, disciple of the Hunyuan sect, comprehended. Chun Hao sat cross-legged 100 miles away from the pagoda stele. He stared at the small words on the upper right corner of the stele. One of the 3 great Immortal Sutras, the Earth Desolation Sutra, The three great immortal sutras were the Earth Desolation Sutra, the Heavenly Emperor Sutra, and the Chaos Sutra. The dense and messy Tao marks on the steel, as well as the oppressive aura it exuded, did not need to be explained in small words. Chun Hao was certain that these were related to the Earth Desolation Sutra. Yang Lu was the senior from the Hunyuan sect who had inscribed these Tao marks. Unfortunately, perhaps because it was too long ago, Li Mubai did not have any information about Yang Lu in his memories. Phew, after a long sigh, Chun Hao focused his mind and looked at the densely packed Tao marks on the pagoda stele. His mind was also immersed in the oppressive aura of the Tao mark. His eyes flashed across the Tao marks, trying to capture the concept they contained. 2 hours passed, and there was no reaction. 4 hours passed, and there was still no reaction. 3 days passed, and there was still no way to understand the mystery. It's actually so mysterious? Chun Hao was shocked when he saw that his head was spinning and his eyes were sore from the oppressive aura. Although he had expected the three great immortal sutras to be difficult to understand, he did not expect that after 3 days, he could not even get a glimpse of it. This was not even the real Immortal Sutra, but it was already so difficult. What would the real Immortal Sutra be like? Phew! Chun Hao sighed. Let's recover first. I've used up a lot of energy. However, it's only been 3 days. If it were that simple, it wouldn't be an Immortal Sutra. Chun Hao slowly closed his sore eyes. No, these Tao marks look messy, but they don't exist independently. Instead, they are formed in one go. No wonder there's no reaction. I have to use my heart to comprehend it. Chun Hao suddenly exclaimed. Even he didn't think that it was because he had been staring at the tower stele for too long. The moment he closed his eyes, the Tao marks of the entire tower stele seemed to be left in his eyes. Moreover, the Tao marks became clearer and brighter. This feeling was like playing a game for a long time, but when you closed your eyes you could still see the game scene. The only difference was that at this moment, the seemingly chaotic Tao marks that appeared in Chun Hao's eyes actually seemed to have come alive. Their forms and intentions were connected, like the strokes of calligraphy echoing each other, and their charm was connected. 1. Whoosh! Chi! Chi! And just as Chun Hao was in shock, an illusory world suddenly appeared. It was as though he had entered a brand new world. A boundless aura of desolation gushed forth. At the same time, an imposing figure that resembled a heavenly god appeared in the center of the world, dancing with his sword. The aura of desolation was none other than him. I see. Chun Hao spoke excitedly, and then he held his breath in concentration and entered into a state of comprehension. Tao Mark Secret Realm. Using the Tao marks left behind by oneself, one could bring one's comprehension into the Tao mark space and comprehend the immortal scriptures aura contained within the absolute art. This was the Tao mark Secret Realm, and also the powerful function of the tower stele. If not for this, cultivators could only comprehend from the Tao marks. Relatively speaking, the effect would be many times weaker. When Chun Hao entered the Tao mark Secret Realm, some experts who had been here several times or dozens of times had already rushed to the pagoda stele that they wanted to comprehend. Furthermore, they had already entered the Tao mark Secret Realm 2 days ago. However, the newcomers who came for the first time, other than Chun Hao, were still suffering. Firstly, they had already reached the limit of the pressure they could endure, and the amount of energy they could spare to comprehend the Tao marks was limited. Secondly, the Tao marks they faced were even stronger, and it was relatively difficult for them to enter the Tao mark Secret Realm. Furthermore, every once in a while, they had to fully recover their essence, energy, and true essence. The consumption here was extremely high. Even with an endless supply of extremely pure heaven and earth spirit energy, their own replenishment could not reach a balance. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. In front of the first level of the pagoda monument, Chun Hao, who was sitting cross-legged, had not changed at all since the beginning. His entire body was glowing with immortal light, and he automatically absorbed and spat out dense and pure heaven and earth spirit energy, easily maintaining the balance of his own consumption. In these 3 years, he did not stop to recover at all. He was completely immersed in the Tao Mark's secret realm. Every time Zhang Chong and the others had no choice but to stop, they would check on the situation of the others. After seeing Chen Hao's state, they were not surprised, because Chen Hao was only at the first level of the pagoda monument. If it were them, they would be confident that they could do the same. Chi. At this moment, in the Tao Mark's secret realm, Chen Hao was no longer observing and comprehending. Instead, his heart moved and he danced with the figure in the Tao Mark. Moreover, his aura was becoming more and more similar to the Tao Mark figure. His entire body was surrounded by a desolate aura. It's about time. Boom. Chen Hao's mind suddenly shot out a berserk energy, and with a loud explosion in his mind returned to his body, and the Tao Mark's secret realm disappeared. Chen Hao opened his eyes. In these 3 years, although there is still a huge gap between us, that is the gap between our realms and the heavenly Tao laws, I have already comprehended the profound mystery of desolation that he contains. It doesn't seem. It's not that difficult. Could it be that I really chose something too simple? Shaking his head, Chen Hao looked at the figures in the depth. When he saw that they were still standing there without moving, Chen Hao took a deep breath and thought to himself, should I go deeper, or should I try the other first level? Chen Hao rose into the air, his gaze sweeping across the pagoda monuments. The first level has a total of 112 pagoda monuments. If they are all as simple as this pagoda monument, I might be able to comprehend them all in less than 300 years. According to Master, it seems that it is not that easy to completely comprehend any of the pagoda monuments. After hesitating for a moment, Chen Hao finally decided to stay on the first level. It was not that he did not want to have the greatest harvest, but he wanted to have an even greater harvest. 1,000 disintegrations, even the simplest one, was the comprehension of many senior experts, and Chen Hao could faintly feel that his comprehension speed was not something that others could compare to. This should be related to the profound Tao scriptures and Buddhist scriptures that he had comprehended and honed his super high comprehension ability. Ha. You can't even comprehend the simplest pagoda monument, and you changed to another one? Looks like it was really a great opportunity that allowed you to temporarily improve. Trash is trash. How can talent and comprehension be changed by a great opportunity? A chicken will always be a chicken, wanting to become a phoenix. It's not that easy. Ha. When Zhang Chong recovered once again, he saw that Chen Hao had actually changed to the lowest level pagoda monument, and immediately laughed out loud in disdain, shamelessly humiliating him. Chapter 961. This time, Zhang Chong had disturbed the surrounding cultivators. They all looked at Zhang Chong without hiding anything. Fortunately, that guy tactfully shut his mouth. However, the few people who were awakened also looked curiously in Chen Hao's direction. When they saw that it was indeed as Zhang Chong had said, their eyes were filled with a hint of schadenfreude. It was not that Li Mubai was too annoying. In fact, anyone who was suppressed by a genius who suddenly appeared would feel dissatisfied. They had worked hard step by step to achieve their current dazzling achievements. Why was he able to reach the same level as them in such a short time? Whoever saw a guy who was originally thousands of miles away from them and who they disdained to look at suddenly rise to the same level as them would feel unhappy. If Li Mubai had become stronger bit by bit through hard work, they could still accept it. But Li Mubai was not like that. Chen Hao, who was sitting cross-legged, did not have any change in expression. However, the corner of his mouth curled up into a smile. Truly ignorant. Oh, it's not that they are ignorant. It's just that I, your brother, am too strong. Originally, Chern Hao was not sure if it was because it was too simple. After all, before he came, the fifth Grand Elder did not explain much to him. His understanding of the secret realm was also very limited. But now, through Zhang Chong's words and the gazes of the few people who looked at him, especially the old man among them, Chern Hao was sure that even the simplest pagoda monument was not something that could be comprehended in 3 years. At least, in their knowledge, no one had done it. Sand accumulates into a tower, hundreds of rivers converge into the sea. Chern Hao confidently threw himself into the comprehension. This time, he only used a few hours to open the Tao Mark's secret realm and once again immersed himself in the comprehension. Ha ha ha, changing again. I'm dying of laughter. Sorry, I really can't hold it in. Damn, it can't be? You don't even have the slightest bit of patience? That's right, your comprehension is too weak. You can't even find the door at all. It's only right. Ha ha. Zhang Chong, can you King shut up? If you want to talk, don't use your true essence. If you continue like this, I don't mind spreading the news. CK. Cough, sorry. For more than 10 years, Chern Hao had changed 6 pagoda steels. Moreover, the frequency at which he changed them seemed to be gradually increasing. Every time Zhang Chong discovered this, he would laugh boastfully and mock Chern Hao. Chern Hao never paid any attention to him. This made him believe that Li Mubai was really trash, and he became more and more unscrupulous. However, Zhang Chong didn't dare to say anything else when the crowd was angry. And as time passed, over 100 years later, Zhang Chong and the others woke up less and less. It was clear that they had adapted to the pressure of the pagoda steel, and were gradually able to maintain a balance between their energy consumption and absorption. Chern Hao, on the other hand, continued to change the pagoda steels every 2 or 3 years, or even shorter. A few of them would occasionally wake up. At first, they would pay attention to it, but later they would just ignore it. Such a person, not to mention how good his comprehension was, his patience was too poor. He would retreat when faced with difficulties. How could he achieve great success? It was meaningless to pay attention to him. He was already an existence that couldn't be compared to them. 620 years passed in a hurry. On this day, in the arcane realm grotto heaven that had been silent for more than 400 years, there was suddenly a scream of horror. The voice seemed to be filled with shock and anger, and it directly awakened nearly 10 cultivators around it. Zhang Chong, that bastard! Just by the voice, they could tell that it was Zhang Chong. One by one, they glared at Zhang Chong's direction. Immediately, their eyes widened. What was going on? Li Mubai, what are you doing here? Zhang Chong glared at Chern Hao as if he had seen a ghost. Who said that this place is yours? I want to comprehend here. What does it have to do with you? Unknowingly, Chern Hao, who was sitting cross-legged near Zhang Chong, turned his head to look at Zhang Chong and asked rhetorically. Although his expression was calm, there was a trace of mockery in his eyes that were as sharp as swords. Chern Hao also did not expect that this fellow would actually be frightened to this extent by his silent arrival. Of course, when Zhang Chong found him, he had already been comprehending here for about half a year. In 620 years, he had already comprehended the first floor's 100 stone and 2 pagoda steels, the second floor's 62 pagoda steels, and the third floor's 39 pagoda steels. When he reached the 4th floor, the first one Chern Hao chose was Zhang Chong. No, you can actually withstand the pressure of the Tao marks here? And so easily? Don't be surprised. Don't affect my comprehension. Otherwise I'll sue you. Chern Hao said mockingly. After saying that, he closed his eyes. It was obvious that he treated Zhang Chong as a fly. Zhang Chong opened his mouth, and was choked by Chern Hao until he could not speak. He was even more puzzled in his heart. What the hell was going on? Wasn't he always wandering around the first floor? Why did he come to his side after not paying attention for a few hundred years? Similarly puzzled and shocked, there were also a few people who were awakened by Zhang Chang's scream. At this time, they completely did not understand what Li Mubai was selling, but even if they were beaten to death, they would not believe that Chen Hao had comprehended the first few levels of the pagoda steels. There's only one explanation. Li Mubai has already given up on comprehending and is specially enduring the pressure of the Tao marks to temper his soul and body. It seems that the golden body reconstructed by the fifth Grand Elder and him should be extremely powerful, and it must be so. Otherwise, his appearance wouldn't have changed so much. This was definitely because the origin of the bloodline he used was extremely domineering, and that was why it was so dominant. Otherwise, his appearance wouldn't have changed so much. Furthermore, the proportion of his absorption was extremely high. His soul's endurance is also very strong. Not long after, everyone made their own judgment in their hearts. Although they all agreed that Li Mubai was not fated with the Immortal Sutra, they had to re-evaluate Li Mubai's strength. Not to mention anything else, just the ability to withstand the pressure of the Tao marks was extremely powerful. Otherwise, he would not have appeared so relaxed. 4th level, 16 pieces. 5th level, 8 pieces. 6th level, 5 pieces. 7th level, 3 pieces. 8th level, 2 pieces. 9th level, which is also the last level, 1 piece. Chen Hao, who was awakened by Zhang Chong, thought to himself when he closed his eyes. Inferring from this half a year's time, the 4th level, if I were to comprehend 1 piece, it would take at least 6 years. 16 pieces would be close to 100 years. The deeper I go, the harder it will be. It seems that it will be difficult to comprehend all of them. If Zhang Chong and the others knew what Chen Hao was thinking at this moment, their eyeballs would fall to the ground from shock. In 1,000 years, they could not even completely comprehend 1 piece. But even so, they could clearly feel that their soul, body, will, Tao mark pressure and their own comprehension had obtained an astonishing improvement. Unfortunately, Chen Hao had comprehended so many pagoda monuments. Until now, he felt that his improvement was not as great as he had imagined. Especially after sensing the aura of Zhang Chong and the others, Chen Hao realized that the speed of his improvement was not as fast as any of them. Second update: the outbreak is continuing. Can I cast a monthly vote? Chapter 962. The problem was naturally the profound meaning of the Immortal Sutra contained in the Tao marks and the pressure of the Tao marks in the area where Chen Hao was previously. Up until now, Chen Hao had already comprehended all the profound meaning of the Immortal Sutra contained in the 223 pagoda steels on the first 3 levels. Even if these pagoda steels were not strong, they should have greatly improved him. However, to Chen Hao, they were not of much use. Chen Hao felt like he was peering at a leopard through a tube. Up until now, he still had no concept of the true profound meaning of the 3 great Immortal Sutras. And he himself had cultivated the 3,000 Great Tao, the Tao scriptures of the general outline of the Great Tao, the Buddhist scriptures, and other supreme existences. As a result, he did not feel that the profound meaning of the Immortal Sutra had brought him any great benefits. This was the same logic as swallowing elixirs. After swallowing a high-level elixir, swallowing another elixir of the same level would greatly reduce the effect. Moreover, these pagoda steels were more like diluted water of elixirs of the same level. Unless he saw the true Immortal Sutra, to Chen Hao, the benefits would not be too great. Similarly, if the benefits were great, he would not be able to comprehend it so easily. In addition, the pressure of the Tao marks on the first 3 levels did not pressure him at all. Therefore, the tempering of his soul, will, and body naturally did not improve much. At the 4th level, the pressure of the Tao marks made Chen Hao feel some pressure, but it was not enough. It was still not enough to train him. But since he had already started, Chern Hao would persevere to the end and continue to comprehend. There were still 380 years. With his speed of progress, he would definitely temper himself. Where's Xiaonan? Ancient chaos, boundless world, 10 square territory. Chen Shui looked at Chen Yan, Lan Feng, and Coiling Dragon, who were covered in blood, and asked in horror. Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Du Jing, Hu Mainyang, Bailey Ningbing, Chen Ling, Li Yang, and the others all felt that they had lost their composure and approached them as fast as they could. But at this moment they only saw Chen Yan kneeling on the ground, ignoring his injuries, Lan Feng lying on the ground, unable to move, his body almost completely cracked and extremely weak. There was also a ferocious beast that looked like it had its teeth pulled out, and a miserable coiling dragon. Around them, the collapsed mountain peaks, the terrifying aura that pervaded the air, the blood on the ground, and the broken limbs, all of this proved that an extremely tragic battle had taken place. What's wrong with Xiaonan? And where are our people? Tell us, tell us! Du Jing roared. Who is it? Who did it? Chi. At this moment, Hu Mainyang, who also looked terrible, suddenly sent out 3 streams of majestic energy into Lan Feng, Coiling Dragon, and Chen Yan. Wah! Second brother! Woo-woo! Chen Yan, whose face was covered in tears but couldn't make a sound, suddenly let out a shrill and painful cry after receiving Hu Mainyang's energy. Second brother was a title that Chen Nan had never enjoyed since he was a child. Chen Yan had always called him Xiao Nan since they were twins. But now it had become second brother. Puff. I'm sorry, Lan Feng said painfully as he spat out the filthy blood mixed with pieces of his internal organs. Ah dash! Coiling Dragon let out a heart-wrenching roar and slammed his fists on the hard rocky ground. There were no energy fluctuations, only the most direct physical collisions. Blood splattered everywhere. No! Chen Yan, who was sobbing uncontrollably, suddenly screamed and grabbed at the void as if she was trying to catch something. Her mind was filled with the image of Chen Nan dashing toward her without any regard for his own safety, and the words that he transmitted to her at the same time. Little sister, when Big Brother comes back, remember to tell him that I want to be his biological brother in my next life. That way, maybe I can catch up to Big Brother and ask him to avenge me. Don't. Goodbye, little sister. I'm sorry that I didn't have the ability to protect you. Big Brother, goodbye. At that moment, Chen Nan ignited his soul and self-detonated his vital spirit. Like a moth darting into a flame, he charged toward the fatal blow that he couldn't block. He took a deep look at his little sister and then looked into the endless void. Chen Yan knew that he was saying goodbye to Big Brother using the prayer method that Yilan had taught him. Those were the last words that he left in this world. Aj. F***ck. Limu Bai, what the F***ck are you yelling for? Xiao Nan. Boom. I want to get out. I want to get out. Chen Hao seemed to have not heard the angry roar of the frightened Zhang Chong. He seemed to have gone mad, and his expression was extremely sorrowful as he called out Xiao Nan's name. Then, like a madman, he exploded with a terrifying aura. The pressure that was released in an instant caused the roaring Zhang Chong to be directly silenced. With a plop, he was pressed to the ground. Rumble. Rumble. At this moment, in the macro world in Chen Hao's mind, the heavens and earth changed color. Billions of creatures from the Milky Way star zone all looked up at the void in horror. Then, one by one, they knelt on the ground and began to pray silently. The spirit spring sea suddenly rolled and roared, rolling up thousands of waves. The Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree shook violently even though there was no wind. As if it had the vitality of the 9 heavens and 10 earths, it suddenly bloomed violently, and its branches and leaves grew at a terrifying speed. Xiao Nan. Little brother. No. Chen Hao's second body, which had been sleeping peacefully as if it would never wake up, suddenly let out a heart-wrenching roar almost at the same time as Chen Hao's original body. Chen Hao! You spoke, ah! Nurse Lu Hui, who was accompanying Chen Hao's second body, said in astonishment. But immediately, her expression became extremely gloomy, and her tears almost uncontrollably became the same as those of Chen Hao's second body. She looked at Chen Hao, who seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep again, and suddenly grabbed his hand. Hundreds of years had passed. Nurse Lu Hui had practiced all kinds of cultivation methods that Chen Hao's original body had left to Chen Hua to the extreme. Without anyone's guidance and without taking any spiritual objects of heaven and earth, her progress was so amazing that even Chen Hao's original body would be dumbfounded if he saw it. Unfortunately, Chen Hao had been busy with his own affairs during this period of time. After entering the secret realm, he had been cultivating all the time. He didn't even look at the people of the Sky River sector. Of course, that was also the reason why he gave all these to his second body. In the macro world in his mind, the law of time was determined by the world his real body was in. Nurse Lu Hui, who had cultivated for hundreds of years, was now a goddess revered by billions of lives in the Sky River sector. She was the woman of the true God. She had already replaced Chen Hua to preach and perform miracles, and her supernatural ability had been awakened to an even more incredible level as her realm increased. She could hear Chen Hao speak in his deep sleep, and she could sense Chen Hao's thoughts. The two of them had been communicating for hundreds of years. At this moment, she only felt that Chen Hao was about to collapse. Pain, heartache, incomparable heartache, made her feel the same heartache as Chen Hao's heart. Third update, Wushan continues, begging for monthly votes. Chapter 963. The Other You. Is it the influence of the other you? The young nurse's supernatural ability, mind reading, could tell everyone in the Sky River sector, including Chen Hua, what she wanted to know. Even if the other person didn't tell her, as long as the real information flashed through her mind, she would be able to grasp it. The matter between Chen Hao and Chen Hua was no longer a secret in her heart. You are him, and he is you, Nurse Lu Hui murmured. Although she didn't know what was going on, she took it for granted that such a bizarre thing happened. She also knew that it was an ultimate supernatural ability. Unfortunately, she couldn't touch it at her current level. Over the years, she had long since discovered that she was special. As she cultivated the cultivation methods that Chen Hao had obtained from the other Chen Hao, many wonderful methods would automatically surge into her mind, some of which were even better and more powerful than those left behind by Chen Hao. Up until now, although she had mastered all the cultivation methods that Chen Hao had left behind, she had never lacked anything for cultivation. Stepping into the ranks of cultivators was like opening a door that belonged to her in the first place. How can I help you? Don't be sad. Lu Hui held the hand of Chen Hao's second life tightly and murmured. Li Mu Bai, what's the ruckus about? Chen Hao activated the communication function of the token. Just as he was about to howl and leave, a dignified voice suddenly transmitted from the token. The three words Li Mu Bai were like a calming talisman, causing the frenzied Chen Hao to freeze. Go out? What can I do even if I go out? What can I do? I'm just the Daluo Golden Wonderland. How far can I go? Even if there are traces of the Milky Way tunnel that allow me to enter, so what? Little brother. Earlier, when he was comprehending, an indescribable feeling of terror suddenly arose from the depths of his heart, and a strong feeling of uneasiness almost caused him to go mad. Subsequently, an obsession that seemed to have traversed the boundless river of stars and connected the heavens and the earth drifted into his mind. He saw and heard. He saw the despair and unwillingness in his younger brother's eyes as he burned his soul and self-destructed his origin spirit. He heard his younger brother say, "Goodbye, big brother." This was the obsession that his younger brother passed to him when he was on the brink of death and burned his soul and primordial spirit, breaking through the 9 heavens and 10 earths that even true immortals could not truly achieve. His heart was bleeding. But there was nothing he could do. 1,000 years. He had only left the ancient chaos world for less than 1,000 years. What had happened? I want to level up. I want to level up. Ah. Boom. Chen Hao cut off the connection with the badge and let out a furious roar. His black hair danced wildly in the wind, and his robe flapped wildly. A terrifying aura spread out from him in the center of the arcane realm. At this moment, not only Zhang Chong and the others who were closest to him, but even the top geniuses in the last few floors of the secret realm were shocked awake. A terrifying fluctuation of heaven and earth spiritual qi had actually appeared in the heavenly abode. Everyone was shocked. It should be noted that the heaven and earth spiritual qi here was extremely pure and dense, and it was continuously supplied. No matter how much they absorbed when they were recovering, they could at most cause some fluctuations within 1,000 feet of themselves. But at this moment, Chen Hao, who was crazily activating himself, caused ripples of heaven and earth spiritual qi in the entire secret realm. What did that mean? The 29 pairs of eyes all sucked in a breath of cold air. Although the 20 people in the depths could not see or sense Chen Hao, they could tell that the roar that resounded through the heavens and earth was Li Mubai's. Buzz. At this moment, the master in the depths, who had been here the most times and was the strongest among the 30 people, who was almost certain to be qualified to enter the sacred ground of the Immortal Sutra, suddenly heard the vibration of the badge. Situqian, what happened in the heavenly abode? Elder, Li Mubai just roared crazily for some reason. I was in the depths and he was in the periphery. I didn't see the specific situation. Go and see the situation. Keep the line connected. Just now Li Mubai was clamoring to go out, but for some reason, I can't get through to him now. Yes. Qi. Situ Qian, who was comprehending in front of the monument on the 9th level of the pagoda, replied respectfully. He directly turned into a stream of light and flashed away. Even if the elder did not instruct him, he would have gone to see what was going on. Even the heaven and earth spiritual qi around him was fluctuating. It was really too shocking. Crazy, crazy. Li Mubai, what is he doing? Qi streams of light flashed past, and the 20 people in the depths all appeared near the 4th level. Suddenly, like Zhang Chong and the others, they opened their eyes wide in horror and looked at the unbelievable scene in front of them. Li Mubai was like a demon god, his black hair wildly dancing and his clothes fluttering. He was swallowing the thick and pure heaven and earth spiritual qi at an astonishing speed. His entire body had swelled by more than 10 times, like an inflated balloon, giving people the feeling that he would explode and die at any time. The heaven and earth spiritual qi here was indeed pure to the point that it did not need to be refined to absorb it, but it did not mean that it did not need to be refined. Any cultivator's own true essence was strange, and no matter how pure it was, it would still need to be refined when absorbing it, making it completely consistent with one's own true essence. But Li Mubai was like a madman, only crazily swallowing. Is he still a human? A shocking feeling attacked everyone's nerve. Even Zhang Chong had forgotten his grudge with Li Mubai, and his heart was in his throat. He was shocked by the terrifying endurance of Chen Hao's body, as well as the majestic blood qi bursting out. He was also nervous, as Li Mubai might explode at any time. Possessed by the devil? Situ Qian, wake him up immediately with the primeval Taoist sound. Through Situ Qian's token, the elder in the outside world immediately ordered after seeing the situation. Yes. Situ Qian withdrew his extremely shocked gaze, and the aura around him suddenly soared violently. In an instant, endless Taoist principles surrounded him, and the immortal light shone brightly. At the same time, he suddenly opened his mouth, as if swallowing mountains and rivers, and directly sucked the heaven and earth spiritual chi hundreds of feet in front of him. Moo! Moo moo moo! The next moment, a sound like a cow or a dragon suddenly burst out from Sidhu Qian's mouth, like a bolt of lightning flashing across the entire secret realm. Zhang Chong and other people with weaker cultivations directly blanked out, and their eyes instantly glazed over. This was just the aftermath. Sidhu Qian was completely targeting Chen Hao. He believed that under his strongest Taoist sound, Li Mubai, who had just been possessed by the devil, would definitely be shocked out of the devil realm. But when his primeval Taoist sound, which carried endless Taoist principles, was about to spread to Chen Hao's body, the seemingly crazy Chen Hao suddenly opened his mouth. Moo! A vast and magnificent sound suddenly burst out from Chen Hao's mouth, like the evening drum and morning bell. Fourth update. Wushan continues. If you still have monthly votes, please vote for Wushan, thank you. Chapter 964. Boom. The moment the syllables exploded, everyone present, including Sidhu Qian, felt their souls tremble. The vast syllables directly penetrated their souls and exploded in the depths of their souls, like the roar of a heavenly drum, shaking their hearts. Boom. Rumble, the two kinds of sound waves, which contained endless Tao laws and immortal light, collided with a loud bang. The terrifying explosion was comparable to the collision of secret techniques and magical powers, causing violent fluctuations in the secret grotto heaven. When the mu syllables disappeared, the mu syllables still pervaded the entire world and did not dissipate for a long time. Puff! As the mu syllables shattered, Sidhu Qian, who was in a daze, suddenly spat out a mouthful of essence blood. His mind was injured, and at the same time, he woke up from his daze. He stared in shock at Chen Hao, whose black hair danced wildly in the void like a monstrous demon god, and his heart was in turmoil. How is this possible? How is this possible? When the mu syllables completely dissipated, the others woke up from their daze and looked at Sidhu Qian, who was bleeding from the corners of his mouth and whose face was pale. They were shocked beyond words. Sidhu Qian, one of the top 3 geniuses of the Hunyuan sect's Daluo Golden Wonderland, had entered the secret grotto heaven 33 times. Since the third time, he had passed the final competition and entered the sacred place of the Immortal Sutra. Moreover, his ranking was getting higher and higher each time. Even the old man, who had left 38 times before, could not compare with Sidhu Qian. He was faintly showing signs of becoming the first person in the Hunyuan sect's Daluo Jingxian. But now, his mind was injured by Li Mubai's Dao sound. Zhang Chong, who had a fiery temper, felt his legs go weak at this moment, and cold sweat broke out on his back. Was Li Mubai, who had been harboring hatred and provoking him, still human? Elder Sidhu Qian cried out with difficulty. At the same time, the aura around him began to surge wildly, and his eyes became extremely angry as he looked at Chen Hao. Especially when he sensed the gazes of the people around him, he felt that his dignity had been seriously challenged. He couldn't tolerate it. She had awakened him out of kindness, only to be injured by his soundwave divine ability. How could she not be angry? Don't be rash. Li Mubai wasn't bedeviled. He was in the demonic realm. The Dao sound that blocked you just now was completely controlled by my subconscious. I didn't mean to hurt you otherwise. Elder! Otherwise, it won't be your mind that gets hurt, but your soul. Too strong. His mind was now completely immersed in the crazy state of devouring the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. What had stimulated him? How can he be so strong? The shocked voices of the 5 elders in the token made the furious Sidhu Qian sober up a little. At this moment, if he rushed forward to duel with Li Mubai, not to mention that the 5 elders wouldn't allow it, even if they did allow it, he would be purely asking for trouble. This was the demonic realm, an existence even rarer than Epiphany. Moreover, whether it was Epiphany or the demonic realm, as one's cultivation level increased, the chances of it appearing became less and less. After reaching the Daluo Golden Wonderland, Epiphany was extremely rare, and the demonic realm was even more difficult to come by. Once this state appeared, one's potential would explode several times, and they would be able to kill gods and devils in their way. This also made Situ Qian understand that his Dao sound had been broken through by his opponent, and the root of his mind was injured. It wasn't that he was weak, but that Li Mubai's demonic realm was too terrifying. Fortunately, at that time, he was holding the goodwill of awakening Li Mubai, and not the intention to kill. Otherwise, Li Mubai, who was in a state of madness, would definitely subconsciously return the favor. Then, as the elder said, what was hurt would not be his mind, but his soul. Chi. More than 20 rays of light flew to Situ Qian's side one after another. Senior brother, what's going on? The demonic realm. Li Mubai has entered the demonic realm. Ah! All of you listen, for the time being, no one is to get close to Li Mubai, and don't disturb him. Once the demonic realm is over, he will return to normal. If anything unusual happens, immediately report to us with the token, understand? At this time, the elder in Situ Qian's token said loudly. Yes, all of you also pay attention. When his demonic realm is over, report to us. Yes, elder. Old 5, you go and report to the 5th Grand Elder. This time, the 5th Grand Elder has really picked up a treasure. This Li Mubai is really a late bloomer, and a great talent that amazes everyone. The peak of the late stage of the Daluo Golden Wonderland can actually appear in the demonic realm. This is unbelievable. Yes, we should report to the 5th Grand Elder, but I'm very curious, what kind of stimulation did he receive before? The demonic realm, even in the face of life and death, is extremely rare, especially in the Daluo Golden Wonderland. It's almost extinct. What kind of stimulation did it take for it to appear? He shouted that he wanted to come out. That should be the reason. Only he knows this. When he comes out, we'll ask him. Phew. It seems that our Hunyuan sect has another rising star, and it may be the most dazzling one. It's too early to say. He injured Situ Qian in the demonic realm, and when the demonic realm is over, there will be an astonishing increase, but there is still a gap between him and Situ Qian. Haha. I didn't say that I can compare with your good grand disciple now. Look at how excited you are. It's hard to say in the future. I feel that Li Mubai, this kid, must have had an amazing encounter in the past few hundred years, discovered the immortal opportunity, and chased after it. Later, the sect leader casually said that he didn't find the immortal opportunity, but directly gave Li Mubai a place to enter the secret realm. I'm thinking. You're saying, it's very possible. Yes, that should be the case, otherwise, why would he directly give him such a big reward? Good kid. I finally understand what's going on. No wonder after shocking everyone with a single brilliant feat, he advanced so quickly. After his physical body was destroyed, he reconstructed his golden body, as if he was a different person, the immortal opportunity. It's all because of the immortal opportunity. Shoo. Let's not talk about this anymore, just pretend that we didn't hear anything. Old 5, there's no need to report to the 5th Grand Elder. Otherwise, we'll be suspected. Just pretend that we didn't see anything. Yes, Chun Hao did not expect this, and neither did the 5th Great Elder. The 5 ancients were the closest to becoming a true immortal, but they were still half a foot away from it. Yet, when Chun Hao entered a state of madness, they thought of the immortal fate. It had to be said that this reasoning was completely logical. Why would the 5th Great Elder choose a mediocre disciple? Could it be that the sect leader, just because the 5th Grand Elder chose Li Mubai, rewarded him with the right to enter the secret realm that many geniuses could not even enter? Why was Li Mubai able to shock the world with a single brilliant feat? After shocking everyone with a single brilliant feat, he even reconstructed his golden body and underwent a rare complete rebirth. How could this be explained? Now, there was the appearance of the almost extinct demonic realm in the Daluo Golden Wonderland. How could this be explained? It could only be the immortal opportunity. Only Li Mubai's immortal opportunity, which was comparable to the three great celestial sutras, could be so incredible. Chapter 965. The five elders could be said to have hit the nail on the head. Although the process of speculation was crooked and the result was wrong, but in the end, they still connected the immortal fate with Li Mubai. After 2 hours had passed in the outside world, the five elders still did not receive any reports from Sidu Qian and the others. They could not help but take the initiative to contact Sidu Qian. What shocked them once again was that Li Mubai was still immersed in a state of madness, constantly repeating the process of devouring, devouring, and refining 10 years in the outside world, 1,000 years in the grotto heaven of the secret realm, 2 hours, it was 100 hours inside. How could the demonic realm last for 100 hours? The five elders once again used the token to carefully sense Li Mubai's state and confirmed that their judgment was not wrong. This made them have no choice but to re-evaluate the strength of the immortal fate, but what was even more shocking was still to come. Li Mubai's state of madness seemed to have no end. After devouring the spiritual energy of heaven and earth near the 4th level for an entire month, he suddenly opened his eyes. With a chi sound, he rushed towards the 5th level of the pagoda monument as fast as lightning. His eyes were black and white, but it gave people a feeling of emptiness. It was as if his entire mind and soul were in an unconscious state where there was no heaven, no earth, no self. On the 5th level, the pressure of the pagoda monument's Tao mark was much stronger than on the 4th level. Zhang Chong and the others did not dare to cross over. But Chen Hao was completely fearless in this strange state of madness. Not only that, when he arrived in front of a pagoda monument, he once again began to devour and refine crazily. This time, after a full 3 months, Sidu Qian, Zhang Chong and the others also gave up on watching. They all had different feelings and comprehended their own. There was no other way. Who knew when Li Mubai's strange state of madness would end? The fact that the Berserk Devil realm could last for such a long time was definitely something that no one had ever heard of. It was unprecedented, and it was unlikely that there would be anyone like it in the future. Zhang Chong, who had been provoking Li Mubai before, finally calmed down this time. The deep sense of powerlessness and frustration forced him to calm down. Li Mubai's sudden increase in strength made him unhappy, but when he became strong to the point where he had to look up to him, that unhappiness disappeared. Li Mubai had already surpassed him by too much. He no longer had the qualifications to compete with him, so what was the use of being unhappy? 3 years, 5 years. Sigh. Comparisons are odious. 10 years in the state of the Berserk Devil realm, 10 years. Every time he needed to fully recover, Sidu Qian, Zhang Chong, and the others would pay attention to Li Mubai. They were no longer shocked, only envious and bitter. Qi. On the 5th floor, Chen Hao had been crazily absorbing and refining the spiritual qi of heaven and earth for 10 whole years. Finally, he moved again. The girl who had once nodded slightly at Chen Hao was suddenly awakened by the spiritual qi of heaven and earth around her. When she saw that Chen Hao was actually not too far away from her, she let out a cry of surprise, then quickly covered her mouth. His black hair danced wildly, his blue robe, his handsome and cold face was still black and white, but his eyes were empty. Looking at him at such a close distance, it made the girl's heart tremble for no reason. That pair of empty black eyes that seemed to have no consciousness, under her close gaze, actually seemed to contain endless sorrow, as if they were dripping blood, as if they were crying, as if they were pouring out, as if they were blaming themselves. She couldn't describe what exactly she was feeling, but her gaze was completely sunk into the other party's empty eyes. An indescribable heartache, as if it was tugging at her heart, made her want to go forward and comfort him, without any utilitarian thoughts, but in the end she forced herself to hold it in. She knew that Li Mubai was currently in the berserk devil realm that cultivators could only hope to encounter but not see. She didn't dare to disturb him, nor was she able to approach him. What kind of person was he exactly? What kind of pain and agony did he go through to fall into such a deep berserk devil realm? She felt that this junior brother who she had once disdained definitely had an unforgettable experience and story. 30 years passed by in a flash. When the girl started to recover and woke up, Chern Hao had already disappeared from her side and entered the 7th floor. Looking at the figure that was crazily swallowing and refining the spiritual qi of heaven and earth from afar, she actually had a strong urge to rush over. She also didn't know what was going on, but when Chern Hao was swallowing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, she was clearly distracted to sense him, but the speed of her comprehension of the pagoda monument's Tao mark was actually faster than ever before, and she would soon be immersed in it. Until now, she had already comprehended the pagoda monument several times, but she still couldn't completely comprehend it. At this moment, she was actually at the final juncture, just a little bit more and she would completely comprehend it. Chi. After hesitating for a moment, the girl directly soared into the sky and flew towards the pagoda monument on the 7th floor where Chern Hao was. Previously, everyone had also noticed that Chern Hao was on the same pagoda monument as her, but they didn't expect that she would actually give up on comprehending the pagoda monument on the 6th floor and rush to the 7th floor, and take the initiative to carefully approach Chern Hao again. What do you mean by it's not time to make a Tao companion? When you see someone with amazing talent and potential, won't you still take the initiative to approach him? Women are all sluts, and you, Nguyen Tan Lan, are no exception. A young disciple in front of another pagoda monument on the 7th floor had an ugly expression when he saw the girl taking the initiative to approach Chern Hao to comprehend the pagoda monument, and his heart was filled with disdain. Apex geniuses with amazing talent like them rarely had a Tao companion, and the more talented they were, the later they would make a Tao companion. They pursued the peak of the martial Tao, and before their potential was exhausted, they would definitely not easily make a Tao companion and use dual cultivation to improve themselves. This was the same in the ancient chaos vast thousand worlds and the chaotic vast thousand worlds, especially for women. Men were relatively better off, as they did not have to worry about the primordial yin body, and it was fine to vent the most primitive throbbing appropriately. As long as it was not used for dual cultivation, there would be no impact. However, women were born weak, and it was almost impossible for them to find a powerful Tao companion after losing the primordial yin body, which was the most precious thing. What a strong pressure! The girl named Nguyen Tan Lan, after approaching Chern Hao, was slightly shocked by the terrifying pressure released by the pagoda monument. She had no choice but to push her essence, qi, and spirit to the limit to resist the pressure. However, Chern Hao, who was in a state of madness, did not seem to care about this terrifying pressure at all, and continued to madly devour the surrounding spiritual qi of heaven and earth. My comprehension speed will be faster by his side. If I get closer, will it be better? Nguyen Tan Lan thought to herself. She had already sat cross-legged, but after a slight hesitation, she stood up again and slowly approached Chern Hao. First update, please vote. Chapter 966. In front of the towering pagoda monument, Nguyen Tan Lan was originally about 100 miles away from Chern Hao. As she slowly approached, she did not feel anything strange at first. But when she crossed the distance of 50 miles, she could feel the turbulence of the surrounding heaven and earth spirit energy. Although she could not see anything, the moment she entered the pagoda monument, the feeling suddenly became 10 times or even 100 times stronger. But this was not what shocked Nguyen Thanh Lan the most. What shocked Nguyen Thanh Lan the most was that the pressure of the pagoda monument's Tao mark on her body had suddenly disappeared. It had disappeared completely, and she could not even sense the aura of the Tao mark. What was going on? Nguyen Thanh Lan widened her eyes in shock. She stared at the extraordinarily handsome but empty figure and was stunned on the spot, not moving at all. The pressure of the Tao mark. Could it be that he had swallowed it all? Nguyen Thanh Lan could not believe it, but other than this reason, there was no other explanation. At this moment, although she was in front of the pagoda monument and the heaven and earth spirit energy was fluctuating intensely, other than feeling comfortable all over, she did not feel any pressure to endure, nor did she comprehend the mysteries of the Tao mark. She had no choice but to retreat a little more and enter the pressure of the Tao mark. She tried her best to appear calm so that others would not notice anything strange. This was all selfish, and Nguyen Thanh Lan was no exception. Especially when others were in a competitive relationship with her. She had no reason to tell others that by being beside Li Mubai, the speed of comprehending the mysteries of the Tao mark would increase by several times, or even dozens of times. This was an opportunity given to her by Li Mubai in his demonic state. Nguyen Thanh Lan was near the critical point of 50 miles away from Chun Hao. Every time her essence, energy, and primeval essence were exhausted, her body would slightly move a few meters closer to Chun Hao, and the terrifying pressure would disappear, allowing her to quickly recover. Once she recovered to her peak state, she would immediately enter the pressure of the Tao mark again. This cycle repeated itself, and in addition to the increase in comprehension speed near Chun Hao, she could clearly feel that her comprehension of the pagoda monument's Tao mark was increasing at a rapid pace. It had far surpassed the comprehensive improvement she had experienced when she entered the Grotto Heaven mystic realms previously. Not only that, as she comprehended the mysteries of the Tao mark, her ability to withstand the pressure of the Tao mark became stronger. Her soul, willpower, and primeval essence were all increasing at an astonishing speed. The more it was like this, the more shocked she was about Li Mubai. If she had improved so much, then how much would Li Mubai, who had caused all of this, improve? It was immeasurable. Occasionally, she would look at Chun Hao's emptiness, but it contained sorrow that made her heart ache. While she was filled with pity, she was also filled with gratitude. Even though she knew that Li Mubai's help to her was completely unintentional. 50 years passed by quickly. Even though Nguyen Thanh Lan tried her best to comprehend and comprehended a lot, she was still unable to catch up to Chun Hao's speed. 50 years. Chun Hao made a chi sound and turned into a stream of light again, rushing deeper into the pagoda monument. The 8th floor. Although it was regretful, Nguyen Thanh Lan did not hesitate and immediately followed. The Tao mark pressure of the 8th floor was undoubtedly more terrifying. It was several times stronger than the 7th floor. If it was not for the astonishing 80 years of improvement on the 7th floor, Nguyen Thanh Lan would not be able to withstand the Tao mark pressure of the 8th floor. But now she was barely able to withstand it. This was something she had never thought of before. She was very clear that if she wanted to do this, she would have to come here dozens of times. But who could insist on staying in the Daluo Golden Wonderland when their progress was extremely slow? So, strictly speaking, she was afraid that she would not be able to step into the 8th floor. But now, she had actually stepped into the 8th floor. When the others noticed this scene, they were all overwhelmed with shock. No one would have thought that Nguyen Thanh Lan would be able to follow them to the end. Most importantly, she could still keep up with Chun Hao, who was in a state of madness. How is this possible? Nguyen Thanh Lan has been hiding her strength all this time? She can actually withstand the pressure of the 8th floor? The young genius who had previously looked down on Nguyen Thanh Lan on the 7th floor was extremely shocked when he woke up and saw that Nguyen Thanh Lan and Li Mubai had actually reached the 8th floor. Of course, he did not know that Nguyen Thanh Lan had benefited from Li Mubai, who was in a state of madness. I see. No wonder she looked down on me. This woman is really scheming. But when did she reach such a level? The 8th floor. Even I don't dare to enter. While this young man was in shock, Situ Chien, who was almost the #1 existence in the Hunyuan Sect's Daluo Golden Wonderland, was also shocked when he saw this scene. Of course, he was no longer shocked by Li Mubai, who was in a state of madness. The person he was shocked by was naturally Nguyen Thanh Lan. Now, among their group of experts who had entered, he was the only one who had entered the 9th floor. There was one person on the 7th floor and 13 on the 8th floor, but he was very clear that these 13 people only had the strength of the 7th floor. When they reached the 8th floor, the 13 of them had joined forces to resist the pressure of the Tao marks and helped each other to comprehend. But at this time, Nguyen Thanh Lan had actually followed Chen Hao to another pagoda monument on the 8th floor. Although her expression was extremely painful, she had obviously withstood the pressure. This was really inconceivable. Nguyen Thanh Lan also had the intention of befriending me. Unfortunately, she was unable to arouse my interest back then. I didn't expect her to progress so quickly. Moreover, she is interested in Li Mubai? Situ Chien frowned and thought to himself. Li Mubai. Muttering Li Mubai's name, Situ Chien's fighting spirit rose, but he immediately retracted it powerlessly. The state of madness had already lasted for 90 years. What kind of concept was that? And from the looks of it, there were no signs of it ending. He had been madly devouring the world spirit chi for 90 years. If it was only devouring the world spirit chi to temper his body, it was fine. But what about the increasing pressure of the Tao marks? What's more, when one was in the berserk devil realm, one's comprehension of the laws of the heavenly Tao was invisible and astonishing. Even if he didn't want to admit it, he had no choice but to admit that when Li Mubai's berserk devil realm disappeared, his own strength had probably reached the same level as him. It's been 7 years. Li Mubai is still immersed in the state of madness, immortal fate. Just how powerful is his immortal fate to have such a terrifying innate ability? Back then, when Li Mubai recited the scripture with a wisp of primordial spirit, although it was just a recitation, it made people feel that it was profound and unfathomable. Many supreme elders and sect masters even thought that it was comparable to the existence of the 3 great immortal scriptures. Thinking about it, even if it is not as good as the 3 great immortal scriptures, but to be able to let Li Mubai obtain such a terrifying improvement, it would not be much worse than the immortal scriptures. This is fate. Second update requesting monthly votes. Thank you. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.